Right, we're live. Tom Vecchia. It seems like an age ago I saw you, and it was only last month.
Yep. And in the meantime, Italy has advanced to the next round with an amazing last-minute goal, which I know as an Englishman, you're probably mixed on that, but it was a great goal nevertheless.
Well, I want to see Italy do well, but I was surprised that how badly they performed. But at the same time, England haven't exactly done set the ground alight. I watched it tonight, and it was a total snooze fest. But yeah, Italy were lucky to get that last minute goal. Really,
Yeah, I thought, to be honest, I mean, the announcer said, I counted, he said it's over 3 or 4 times, but it's not over until it's over. And I guess there was a lot of injury time.
it's
And
like
there
nine
was about
minutes or
eight or
something,
nine.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep, 9 minutes. And they were seconds away from losing it. And, to be the champion and then go out in the first round like that, especially missing the World Cup, would have been a disaster for Italy.
You know what they'll do now, Tom? They'll go on and bloody win the thing, won't they?
I was hoping for a rematch. Would be nice between Italy and you guys.
That'll be nice. We owe you one. We owe you one. But the way either of us are playing, it must have very good odds to get to the
Well,
final.
Spain owned Italy. What's his name? Donamora, the goalie, pretty much had an amazing game and kept Italy to be that close. But Spain owned Italy. That was a disaster.
Yeah. Have you been following it much? Sounds like you've been keeping your eye on things.
Yeah, I follow mostly Italy because I root for Italy and America, which typically doesn't go far in the World Cup. And then obviously the Euro Cup, I vote for Italy. Like I said in the interview, my family's from there, and I try my best to root for them when I can.
Do you know what's really interesting? I was doing a live with Pasquale Malizia last night. He's in the chat now, I see, and we were talking about the
Oh, nice.
states. Yeah, about
Yeah.
how your women's team is like the creme de la creme of soccer, right? But
The world, yeah.
your men's team is probably less than mediocre, or maybe mediocre to be nice.
Well, there's a few reasons for that because I have to remember we're like a nation of immigrants. I'll give you a perfect example. I saw him recently at a show. Giuseppe Rossi, who was Jersey born and raised, Italian American like myself, but he was really good. And he, instead of like being the lead guy in America, he decided to play for Italy. So what happens is, not that is a lot, but there are some Americans that play internationally because they have a better opportunity to win, not just in professional soccer, but also in the World Cup. So even if there is somebody who's really, really good, if there's some lineage, they're going to play on their home team. That's part of the reason. The other thing is all the best athletes play American football, American baseball, and American basketball. If you're that good of an athlete, you're going to go where the money is.
Also, America haven't invested heavily in soccer until I guess quite recently. I mean, you've got Beckham over there now, haven't you? Buying the Miami team. I don't know what the name of it is.
But
Was it?
but that's just one franchise. I mean, you got the Red Bulls, you got some other franchises. You had the guy, I forget his name, the guy with the ponytail went out to L.A. He was pretty big. It's funny. LeBron, he sent LeBron James a shirt. He sent it back. Like it just did not. I guess how do you put it? It did not pick up yet where it needs to be, but it's probably the fastest growing sport in terms of popularity right now. Messi brought it to a whole nother level. When Messi came to Red Bull Stadium, sold out. Wherever Messi goes, sells out. So I think it's a good starting point. And I think in 3 to 5 years, I think a soccer will at least be a lot more popular than it is now.
Yeah, because a lot of kids play it nowadays, don't they, in the States? But they didn't when I went to the States twice when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and it wasn't a thing. Soccer wasn't a thing there, but it seems to be
You know what it was? You started off in soccer at 5 or 6 because you couldn't play football. But when it came to 8 or 9 in flag football, you went over to that. Again, the better athletes. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm starting to see, especially in the Italian culture, Italian American culture, and we could talk a little bit about this because it kind of relates to some of the mob stuff, that Italian Americans are finally starting to connect back with the homeland, traveling. There's a lot more podcasters. There's a lot more content, and there's just really more of a connection and a push to kind of put the Italian American culture and the Italian culture together. Where for years it was divided. Like, so it's funny. So when I go to Italy, I'm an American when I go to Italy, but when I'm here, people say, "Oh, you're Italian because you're first generation." Now it's finally starting to unify a little bit because there's a lot of challenges in the um, in the Italian American community, and one of it is like lack of unity. But it's actually finally starting to get a lot better.
Spot on. We've got a few people have commented. Tom Sheeny. Tom
Tom,
was
nice
part.
seeing you. Pasquale Piacere, Michael Mormel, hello. Stone Sailor, my man. So I've interviewed a lot of big names, and I interviewed a lot of notable people. But one of my favorite interviews was actually with the Stone Sailor, believe it or not. His story
The
intrigued me.
Stone Sailor. Who
Yeah,
is this guy? The Stone Sailor.
yeah. He got paralyzed, kind of in a freak accident. His house burnt down. He lost family members, and he actually kind of found his way back through cannabis use, and then now is healthy, mentally, physically. He served our great nation, and that was one. That was one I enjoyed. Rob and I are friends. I'm happy to say that we're friends.
Cool. Stone Sailor. I'm the Stoned Sailor, even. I'll just drop a link in case you want to jump on. Okay, say hello to
Yeah.
Tom and have a chat. No problem if you don't. Do you know it's funny? Cannabis is in the UK. Cannabis won't be legalized for many years because you've got the two leading.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've got the two leading parties. You've got the Conservative Party, the incumbent government, and you've got the Labour Party, which will be the new government come July. Neither of them, there's no appetite at all to decriminalise or legalise cannabis. You jump over to Canada and you jump over to, I think, now most states of America,
Yeah,
and cannabis is like, it's not only decriminalised, it's actually legalised. On the flip side of that, what I find fascinating is the betting shops have been legal in the UK, I think from the 60s, possibly before. And yet,
yeah. I mean,
you guys, and we go back to the made men again, you know, the bookmaking, the this, you're making loads of money. And it blew my mind to think that certain states of America, most states of America at one point, not in the not too distant past, you weren't even allowed to go to a bookmakers and bet. Like now, I have like several bookmakers on my doorstep, and that's always been the case. It's weird, isn't it? How like we're quite close in culture, our
well,
countries, but yet at the same time, we've got weird
so
discrepancies.
there's an expression I've never heard of it. Pioneers get slaughtered, while settlers prosper. And the mob, and Michael Francis talks about this all the time, pretty much took over prohibition. The government took that back. Lottery, which was the policy games, they took that over. Marijuana was big, obviously, took that over. Legal gambling, which is owned by the mob, even to this day, the legal part, uh, took that over. Wherever the government sees the mafia or any organized crime making real money, they want a piece of it. And they try to, it's another way to marginalize organized crime, but also by making it legal, they get their piece.
Here he is.
Oh
Hey,
my
Rob.
goodness. Hello, how are you?
I'm well, man. How are you? How you been?
Hey, I really appreciate your kind words, Tom, and I feel the
My
same
pleasure.
about you. And
Thank you.
I'm really all these interviews you're getting and all this stuff, and that new studio and all the food and all this stuff. I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous of that lifestyle. I don't know, all that stuff, all that great food you're always eating. You got it all, kid. The beautiful wife, the kids, everything. I'm
Thank
jealous of
you.
you. How are you? Is that my British friend? How are you, my British friend?
Hello, Stone Sailor. Good to make your acquaintance. How are you doing?
Oh, it's very good to make your acquaintance too. And yeah, I was listening to you talk about Britain and cannabis. It's funny. We were the Puritans. You kicked us out because we were too uptight, and we're legalizing cannabis all over America. You know, I think the problem is with you guys. You have a national health service, and if you legalized it, I guess you would have to provide it for free. No.
Provide the cannabis for free.
Yeah, in other words, you have national health care there. So
we do. Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
So if you legalized it, you would have to what? The National Health Service would have to have the dispensaries and all that stuff. I think that's where all the, probably the problem is with that. And plus, let's be honest. The monarchy there. If anybody needs weed, it's them.
Funny to see them stoned, especially the king.
Yeah. If anybody needs it, it's him. With all the problems with that son and all, he needs it.
He's over with you guys now, isn't he?
We want to deport him. That's the first. Hey, once Trump wins again, that's the first one we're kicking out. That Prince Harry, get him out of here. That illegal alien, get him out of here. He doesn't like our first. Apparently, he doesn't like our First Amendment here. That's what he said. We have too much freedom.
And we were providing, I think, dignitary protection for a while, and they had to pull it off because there was too much pressure. And Trump said, when I get to office, he's one of the first guys that's gone.
We're deporting him first. Prince Harry. Get him out of here. And you can have the wife, too. You can have her, too.
Thank you. Just everything I want. Everything I want in life, Stone Sailor.
And keep that Piers Morgan, too. You can have him, too. Keep him over there, too.
He spends most of the time over in the States, doesn't
he? He's getting better. He's coming around. I've been to Britain. I've been to my ship. I was in the Navy. I visited Great Britain twice, Scotland, Ireland. Had a great time there. I really did.
Didn't smoke any cannabis while you were here, did you?
No, I was in the Navy. I couldn't smoke can. I used to be a cop. I would have arrested myself back then, so I didn't do that. I'm retired now, so now I smoke all the cannabis I want. I don't want to do it on your show unless you say it's okay. But
go for it, mate. Go for it.
All right,
if you want to do it.
Since we're here,
I better not do it. I might knock on the door.
Yeah, the bobbies might knock on your door. Yeah.
Exactly. It's funny because you walk around like the streets in the neighborhood, like just down the road from me, and there's always strong smells of cannabis coming from the windows and the garden and stuff like that. So it's just a kind of like people just turn a blind eye to it. It's not like if you're talking about more hardcore drugs, I think you'd have an issue with people.
I'm not talking about legalizing heroin or any of that stuff. Cannabis, in my opinion, is medicine. It's helped me out tremendously, and a lot of other veterans like myself that were exposed to combat and things like that, PTSD and pain, because I had a spinal injury. And I'd rather smoke cannabis than take OxyContin. See, OxyContin, they would have gave me unlimited supplies of that, right? But I smoke cannabis, and that's like a big crime. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break, folks. So I'm glad you're starting to see a re-education on this. A lot of the stuff that we were told, reefer madness, they were all lies and propaganda. It was all done by a rich businessman who wanted to, sell wood and get rid of the hemp. So Randolph Hearst, so he could sell newspapers. That's all it was. They scared people thinking that Mexicans were coming across the border smoking marijuana and like becoming axe murderers. That's basically that's how they sold it. No, that's how they sold it. And it was really Randolph Hearst trying to sell newspapers. And he knew that the hemp, printing paper on hemp lasted longer. It was more durable. And when it rained, the ink didn't run.
Also more expensive, though.
Yeah. So
tell me, Rob, you say that cannabis has helped you with your PTSD and obviously some of the, I guess, crazy things that have happened in your past, all the crazy experiences you've come across. How has it helped you? What's it done for you?
Well, with cannabis, it just, to me, when I'm feeling in one of those moments, or I'm upset about something, I'm about to have, I heard some bad news, or I experienced something that, a traumatic event, a memory that comes back, things of that nature. I just take a couple puffs, and it's like I forget about it. It's like it pulls me out of the moment, and instead of subjective, now I'm objective, and I'm seeing myself on the outside looking in as opposed to the inside looking out. And now I'm able to sit back and look at myself and go, okay, this is why you're angry. All right, you're acting like an asshole. You did something wrong, or the other guy did something wrong, and I don't want to, lose my mind and look like a maniac. So it allows me to slow things down in real time when I'm upset or I'm having, intrusive thoughts or things that, of my experiences. And it allows me to slow things down and react properly. Not to mention the pain aspect of it, because it brings me to another place where I forget about my back pain and things like that. So that's how it helps me. It makes me a better person in reality.
Well, it's interesting you're saying it chills you out and it stops you from kind of, I guess, overreacting to things. So I suppose if you use alcohol to self-medicate, you might be walking exactly into the route that you don't want to go.
Let me tell you something. Me on alcohol, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. I get very crazy on alcohol. Okay, listen, ever since I gave up alcohol, and I haven't drank in over 5 years, ever since I gave up alcohol, I haven't had to apologize to people for my behavior the night before. I haven't had to wake up with ugly fat women. I haven't had to do any of these things that I used to get involved with alcohol. I used to get into trouble with, alcohol, to me, just doesn't do it. It's not good. It's not a good mix for me. And I'm glad I gave it up, and I just went to cannabis. Cannabis is so much better for me. I think in general, listen, I worked as a prison guard too, in the penitentiary. When they would make alcohol, they would call it hooch and white lightning, right, in the prisons. There would be more acts of violence, fights, stabbings. Guys were drunk, right? When they would smoke weed, they would put their headphones on, sit down, watch TV, and go like this. Go make some nachos out of the microwave that they get from sit down, and they're eating like this, and they're watching some show on TV. I would give it away in the prisons to these guys. It doesn't, how many people beat their wives after they smoke weed? How many people beat their wives when they drink, or there's spousal abuse when alcohol is involved?
Yeah.
Yes, a lot. Every call I went to as a military policeman with domestic violence, that 99% of the time there was alcohol involved. They had alcohol in their breath. So,
yes, frightening, isn't it?
Common sense. Yeah.
Where are you, Rob? I'm
in Florida. I live in Florida. I know people think I live in a tent and I'm squatting, but no, I don't live in a tent. I have a home, and I have mango trees and banana trees and coconut trees. I have dragon fruit. I have cashew fruit. I have all these. I have a beautiful backyard, and this is where I broadcast. But some people say I'm homeless and live in a tent, so let's keep that rumor alive.
Oh, I'm jealous. I'd love to be.
I know, right?
Yeah, it is. You got a heat wave over there, haven't you? I don't know if it's in Florida, but
it's always a heat wave. But I love it. I'd rather be hot than cold. Trust me, I don't like that cold weather.
Yeah, we know a lot about that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't like that cold weather.
Well,
because I can always take clothes off. You can only put so many on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, please don't do that now. I mean, the cannabis is fine, but just
unless you cash at me some money there, my British friend, you're not getting my clothes off.
Keep your money to yourself, Tom. Not on here.
Tom's got all the money.
Exactly. Rob, would you be? Can we hook up for an interview if you've got some time?
Anytime, my friend.
Highly recommend. Yeah.
You could get my info from Tom. Okay. You can get all my info from Tom if you'd like.
Yeah, it'd be great to be great to chat to you like more long form and get your story.
And it's true. Tom has interviewed more made men than anybody. But here's another little statistic. I've met more made men in prison than most of these creators have met in their entire life.
Easily.
Okay?
Easily.
So I've met them. I've spoken to them. I've talked to them off the record. They told me some things that I would never tell. Not that they confessed the crimes, but I mean, it was just, like I read the books and I would go in like to that Karakopka guy and go, I read your buddy's book, the fat guy that was your partner. And I read, what's his name? Tommy Dade's book too. And he would look at me and go, what'd you think? I said, doesn't look good. And he's like, believe what you want to believe. But, I never ratted on anybody or, you'll see, I'll get out of here one day. I had good conversations with them. But I would let them know that I read these books and stuff. And they would be, what'd you think about it? And I'd say, well, I don't,
So you guarded one of the Mafia cops?
Yeah. Stephen Karakopka. Yeah,
Holy
him.
shit.
Yep.
Wow. What was he like?
He was a vet, too. He was a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
So I was a vet. And anybody that was a vet, whether they were an inmate or an officer, especially a vet that was in prison, I would always try to, make myself available to them to help them for outside resources because they're still entitled to VA benefits even though they're incarcerated. And what I was seeing was the prison was doing a bad job of telling them about their benefits as far as the veteran population. And I was trying to get VA counselors to come into the prison and talk to the vets because we had a lot of vets in that prison. Not a lot, but we had a good number. And I was trying to get a representative to come in once a month and, because if they need health care or things that maybe the prison wouldn't do, the VA is supposed to do it, So, yeah, he was, I met him, Alley Boy Persico, the leader of the Columbos.
No way.
Yeah, I had him. I had, Whitey Bulger for a brief time.
Whitey Bulger, bloody hell.
Yeah, little Whitey, yeah.
Do you know, yesterday, I did an interview with an ex-Miami homicide detective, which I'm hoping to post on Friday. And he was on the cold case, which involved Whitey Bulger. So he's actually looking for Bulger. And he interviewed, like, Flemmy, his entourage.
Flemmy,
Flemmy Weeks and a few other people. Yeah, so he was a fascinating interview. So, yeah.
He said it was easy to be on the run that long because he never went out at night. Never go out at night. Stay out during the day, never go out at night. That was his strategy, and it worked for a long time.
What was he like then as a person?
He was a little guy, and I remember they said that he was running like 3 miles in California on the beach, like when they arrested him. But all of a sudden, when they brought him into the penitentiary, he had a walker and stuff like that. He was playing the role, He was a little nasty. He got a little nasty. He threatened a psychologist and a couple officers, saying, I'll reach out. I can still reach out and touch you. And that's why he got transferred from that old age pen to that active pen. Yes. Now, let me tell you something. If you believe that was accidental, then you believe that John Kennedy was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald alone and that there was no conspiracy. Okay? If you believe that was an accident.
Wow. Were you surprised when...
We don't make accidents like that, yeah.
Were you surprised when you heard that Whitey had been murdered?
No. Not when I knew where they sent him. He even knew he was going to be murdered. He was saying it to guys in the shoe the night before. When they were in solitary before they got on the bus, he was telling other guys, they're sending me to West Virginia down there. And what was the name of the joint he went to? It's off the top of my head. Lee County. It's in Virginia. I forget the name of the place, but he's like, they're sending me there. And that's an active pen. In other words, he went from a dropout pen, which we had a dropout pen, an active pen. He was in the drop unit. So he was around guys that were disabled or guys that cooperated where it wasn't an active pen. There was no active gang members. And when they shipped him to go to that other pen, which was an active pen, he knew he was going to get killed. He was telling the guys in the shoe that were in the rooms next to him. They're like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going here." And he's like, "Yeah, they're gonna kill me there." It's exactly what he was, and that's a fact.
So you think they did it on purpose to send him there so he'd get whacked?
They don't make accidents like that, bro. They
There's
don't
a
make
court-
accidents like that. They
There's a-
just don't make mistakes
No.
like that.
There's a court case or movement going on at the moment, isn't there, about that with the guys that
Yes,
that allegedly took him out?
yes, yes.
Wow.
That came from Washington. They tried to blame it on one of the wardens there because the day this guy got transferred and got killed, he got killed like 8 hours after arriving there, literally, like he was dead. The warden 2 days after that retired. His name was Charles Lockett. Okay, he retired 2 days later. They were trying to get him, but he wasn't. He said it came from Washington. It had to come from D.C. He's just a warden. You can't, I mean, that's a simple, you have people that are in protective custody should not be in active yards, especially a high-profile guy like Whitey Bulger, when everything on the news was he was an informant, even though he said he wasn't, But yes, the BOP don't make mistakes like that, and the BOP is the Bureau of Prisons. They run the federal prisons in America. I'm retired now, so I can speak. I can tell you the truth.
Yeah, cool. Because he had probably a lot on the FBI, didn't he, with Connolly and all that. So
Connolly was his guardian angel for a long time. Connolly. And Connolly's murder conviction in the feds, I believe, or the state got overturned. One of them got overturned. I think it was the state. Murder conviction got overturned in Florida. And he's still serving federal time, I think, or something.
Yeah, he's out. He's out now.
He's out? Oh, he got out? Okay.
He's out.
All right. I know they were trying to... he got his conviction overturned, correct?
No, he was let out on... It was either to do with COVID or some personal... I think it's 2019, so it was around COVID time.
But Tom, didn't he have a state charge a conviction overturned?
Oh, he might have done.
When one of his got overturned, but I thought he was still away from life. I don't know about the COVID, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard it was the Florida. They had a state case on him, a murder case, and I believe that one got overturned. And then the other one was a federal sentence he was serving, and I think they just maxed him, or they let him out early for COVID, but he only had a couple more years left or something.
He was still supposed to do life. If something changed with COVID or the First Step Act.
Yeah. First Step Act was a big act that Trump put in. A lot of guys that got sentenced to way more time than they should have because they had crack instead of powder, right? These guys got out because of that First Step Act, and that was an amazing piece of legislation. We had a lot of guys walk out of there that were doing 50 years for just crack cocaine. No violence. Nobody got so much as a bloody nose and a fist fight in the indictment, but because they had crack and they wouldn't tell on anybody because their families still lived in that neighborhood, and their families would have gotten hurt because they had to take the time, they got hit with 35 and 40 years of time. So,
hey, Rob F., we followed recently the Vecchia with Scarpa. How did he get off?
I can't hear you very well. Is it me, Rob, or is it?
No, I can't hear you very good.
Can you hear me okay now?
That's better, yeah.
Okay. What happened with the Lily DeVecchio case? The guy that was hooked up with Scarpa. That was a open shut closed, open shut case, and he got off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Fun. Yeah. Sorry. No. Funnily enough, I was discussing this with the ex-Miami homicide detective about.
What did he say?
Well, he said we were discussing about Connolly versus the Greg Scarpa guy, and he went into it in quite detail. So I'll leave it for you guys to watch when it comes to Friday. I'll try to do a teaser there, guys.
Now somebody Lefty wrote they put him with no members of organized crime from the same state who had a predisposition for despising informants. It was a coincidence. Well, what happens is this: when you are on the same case with someone, they put an order in your in your jacket called separatees. So anytime you go to transfer somebody to an institution, that counselor will type in your registration number, and that institution, the computer will automatically say, he can't go here because X, Y, and Z are here. Okay? So everyone in the BOP knows this. So coincidence? No, it wasn't a coincidence. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Wow. Was he well liked in there in your where you were? Was he able to have access to other? Oh, you said he was talking to other prisoners, but was
Well,
he
yeah,
like a well liked guy?
well, he was in a he. I worked at the active yard, the active one, level pen 1. He was at pen 2, which is the drop pen, we called it, and I would work overtime and things over there. And over there, he didn't have much of a problem because everyone in that institution, they were all either cooperators or so disabled they couldn't walk an active pen. And so he had a lot of young kids under there. And from what I understand, they would always ask him about how he got away with this and how they did that. They were trying to get education off of the guy. That's what they were trying to get. They weren't trying to extort him or nothing. But when he went to the active pen over there, he didn't last, 5-6 hours. He was dead.
So he's like a celebrity in the prison.
A
You're
little
right.
bit. He had a little celebrity status. He did when he came in, of course. Yeah.
I guess when you look at him, I mean, he's obviously a piece of shit, but he's quite a cunning piece of shit, isn't he? Like, like how he managed to wingle his way around.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He would get a lot of the SIS guys that I knew. Those are like the special investigative service inside the prison. They're basically the police inside. They're the ones that arrest crooked correctional officers and things like that. I knew one that would do interviews with him, and he said that he was a complete psychopath. That he got him angry because he was asking him questions one time, and he just got raged and started threatening. And I could, don't think because I'm in here I can't hurt you. And he did that to a psychologist too, and he was threatening staff inside Pen 2. So they said, "Okay, we got something for you, Whitey." Boom, and they shipped him out.
So do you think it was because of his behaviour in Pen 2 that they shipped him out, or do you think it was bigger than that?
I say both.
I think a little bit of both. I think they were like, "Hey, this guy's a problem. This is he's threatening staff members. This is an excellent opportunity to ship him out of here. And let's see how he likes it over there." And they figured maybe he'd get smashed real bad and end up in intensive care and then come back and then say, "Okay, put me back in PC." Like he'd get a lesson, but they ended up killing him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Don't think if you're not causing problems with the administration that they're not going to put you in a situation where you can get hurt, because they will. Diesel therapy, they'll put you in. You'll wake up in county jails all over the country. You won't see mail for fucking 2 years. Your ankles and wrists will fucking want to fall off because you'll be shackled with a belly chain, handcuffed in the front with leg shackles on in a bus, 8 hours a day like this, pissing it in your pants all day.
So, Rob, who do you got to piss off to get that type of treatment? Is it a DC suit? Is it somebody high up in the BOP? Who do you got to piss off to get that treatment?
It could be as much as, let's say, a unit manager who runs the unit, or the captain or the warden in that institution. Piss them off. They go right to the warden. The warden says, "Okay, ship him, or put him in the hole, or put him on a bus. We're going to ship him to California. He's in Florida. We're going to put him on a bus, diesel therapy him to California, and then 5 months later we'll diesel therapy him back to another place." And
so a warden can reassign a prisoner that's like in the stable and be like, "I want him out," and has the power to do that?
Yes, if he's causing a problem and threatening staff and endangering the lives of staff members, he sure can.
And I'm guessing wardens probably play games together. Hey, send them my way. I got you covered. And there's probably some gamesmanship there, I would assume.
Well, I mean, what do you think, Tom? These guys, these guys aren't stupid. They get to those positions because they're company players. You understand? You know what I mean? They're part of that group, and with them, I mean, they have a tremendous. They have power over life and death while you're in custody at that institution. They really do.
Yeah.
They're like a modern day Caesar, an emperor. They can go like this on you very easily. Put you in a situation where you get hurt. It's very easy. You know?
Wow.
You don't want to get in a tug of war with those people if you're an inmate in there, because they could really make your life hell, or get you killed.
Wow.
That's nuts. That is nuts. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, we'll thanks for coming on, Rob.
No problem. Hey, thanks. Good seeing you, Tom. Nice
Great,
meeting
buddy.
you, sir. All right. God bless.
It was a
guys.
nice surprise. Nice surprise to have you on for half hour. Appreciate that.
Be good, Rob. Great seeing you, buddy, as always. Be in touch.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Cheers, bud. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, Rob's a good man.
Yeah, he's good. Character as well, isn't he? Funny.
Very good guy. Interesting guy. I'm not big into that as much as he is, but he's really into his stuff, and he's just an interesting guy. I get along with him. You're gonna see. I don't know. You're gonna see in this space, and stay out of the drama. But you'll see. Like, he's a good guy. I get along with him. I don't think he causes too much trouble. I don't believe, but he seems to be out of the drama, so that's pretty cool.
I know you're a cigar man, but do you smoke the blow as well?
No, just I enjoy cigars. Not even cigarettes, just cigars.
I saw you did a review on Jeff Nadeau's cigars.
It's a very, very nice cigar, well put together. The draw was beautiful. It was well constructed. Everything was nice about it. Shout out to Provider Cigars and Jeff. A lot stronger than I thought it was going to be. It is a Maduro wrapper. It's a dark wrapper, so I knew it was going to be a little stronger. It smelled strong. I knew it lit strong. A little stronger than I anticipated. That's my only knock on it. And I don't know Jeff's audience. I don't know if they're kind of avid cigar guys. Are they more dabblers? Is it new to them? But just make sure you get up slow, because it's a pretty strong stick. But it's a very nice quality stick.
Would you? Because you also reviewed Michael Francese's wine, didn't you?
I did, and you want to hear a funny story? So
Yeah.
I got a phone call from one of my biggest clients, and he goes, "I'm in a hotel in LA, and I see you on TV. What's your connection with Mike Francese?" And I kind of have a little bit of church and state separation, where I do like my podcasting here and my Hyde stuff over here, Jekyll and Hyde. So what happened was, he goes, "What's your connection with Francese?" I said, "Well, he's a friend. He's on the show, that kind of stuff." He goes, "I just saw you on a commercial in a hotel room." And so sure enough, they fused my review into when you go to a hotel, there's like some movie reviews or kind of a ongoing kind of loop. They bought and have exclusive rights to that advertising loop in pretty much every hotel chain in the country. So when I also traveled another 5 times, I saw myself in the Franceese commercial. So Franceese wine I like a lot. I like the story behind it. I never had Armenian wine before, so that was kind of cool. It's a Malbec, which you typically get out of Argentina. So I thought that was nice. I think it's a very good wine with like a pizza. Maybe could rock with a steak, a pasta. Like I said, my only knock on it was a little expensive for everyday wine. But if you order online, get the coupon code, do all the promotions, if you get it down to like $18-20 a bottle, it's worth it.
So was the hotel that was doing the slides? I take it
So there's Mario Lopez, he's a big celebrity, and he was in the '80s, Saved by the Bell. So now he kind of is the host of like an online show that just always is on in the hotels. So we interviewed Michael, and Michael's always on there. I guess they also bought advertising space or media buying space, and whenever you go in a hotel, you'll see a Franceese wine commercial, and I'm in it. I literally saw myself 4 or 5 times, and I've gotten calls on it about 10 times.
That's cool. You're getting about. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So could you smoke Jeff Nadeau's cigars and drink Michael Francese's wine
It would
together?
be a little imbalanced. The cigar would overtake the now. You're not supposed to, for the cigar guys and the wine guys, before I get shit. You're not generally, you don't smoke cigars with wine. However, me personally, I can rock with a nice heavy Cabernet with, or a Barolo with a cigar all day long, a lighter cigar all day long. The reason why I wouldn't pair up Jeff Nadeau cigar with Francis's wine, the Jeff's cigar would usurp the wine. Jeff's cigar would be perfect for a smokier bourbon. Perfect.
Okay.
Pairing a smoky bourbon, a decent whiskey, and then possibly, not about Irish whiskey, but a proper whiskey, if you will, as you guys say, and definitely with a whiskey or a bourbon all day long, all day long.
So Nadeau's cigars are like kind of be too powerful, overpower the wine.
My taste profile is I prefer Connecticut shades, which are lighter. It's not exact science, but a rule of thumb is a lighter the shade of the wrapper, the lighter the cigar is. And Maduro and Habano wrappers are dark and heavier. They tend to have heavier fill and tend to be stronger. So yeah, it kind of I was shocked when I smoked it. I really enjoyed it, and I probably enjoyed it more than I do for that strong of a cigar. I was just very surprised how strong it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting stuff. So what have you been doing then since we? I saw you on Fox News again the other day. What
Yes.
have you been doing since I last saw you last month? Since we last
Yeah.
spoke.
Media wise, I was on Fox talking about Apple Intelligence. So I think that's going to be a game changer. They're going to pretty much hijack AI because it controls most of the phones. It'd be pretty cool to see how that kind of rocks out. I love being on Fox. Austin's a good guy. Has me on all the time. I had some podcasts for myself. I interviewed a woman by the name of Christine Chang. She literally started a small dog harness company with her two little like Chihuahuas or whatever they are, Dachshunds. I don't even know what they are, and now is a multi-million-dollar company making millions upon millions selling these little, harnesses for dogs. So I thought that was a pretty cool one. And then and oh, oh, that's Jeff's interview.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Paddy's on the. He's come on the guest, but I've just muted him for the time being. I didn't realise another guest could hear a guest that just
No
come on,
worries.
but that's
No
okay.
worries.
No.
So yeah, so I had her on, which is a really good business interview. Somebody who like kind of came from like had nothing to do with like animals to running a multi-million dollar. Hey Nick, how are you? I never had the pleasure of meeting Nick yet. Pleasure to meet you, Nick. Or see you, Nick.
He'll probably
So
jump on in a bit, I guess.
yeah, would like whoever wants to jump on. I mean, whoever you allowed to be on, have 'em on. And then I interviewed a good buddy of mine. You'll appreciate this, Rob, I believe. He is a Roman history scholar,
Oh,
and we discussed how often you think about the Roman Empire, and we went through the whole kind of Roman history, the emperors, that kind of stuff. He was on some of the biggest podcasts here in the U.S. I don't know if you heard of Tim Pool. He was on Tim Pool. A controversial one called Infowars, and then he also did a few other ones. Yeah, yeah.
it's far right stuff, isn't
Well,
it? Infowars.
unfortunately, he's center right himself because I know him personally, but the right wing really took his messaging on. His message was the U.S. has cracks like the Roman Empire due to inflation and immigration. The far right kind of ran with it.
You know the Infowars guy.
Not myself. People say I look like Alex Jones. I never met him. I don't know him. What he did with the whole Sandy Hook thing was
Yeah, he's a
abhorrent.
nut job.
Yeah, yeah. I don't rock with him. I'm not a far right wing conspiracy. What happened was he was in Austin and he was in touch with his co-host, and somebody canceled. He went on the show. Alex got sick, and he did the show with his co-host. So I'm gonna
Okay.
probably have hate for having this guy on, my buddy, but he's been my buddy for a long time. I know his
No.
politics, and we had a really good conversation about the Roman Empire.
Hey, free speech, Tom. Free speech.
Listen, just because I remember Voltaire.
Yeah,
Just because I don't believe what you say doesn't mean I won't fight to the right to death for you to say it.
exactly. No, fair enough. I think Alex Jones apologised, didn't he? I think in the end for the
Well,
Sandy Hook.
he did, but because he also not only got caught and a $900 million fine, but they're liquidating his assets, and he's pretty much done.
Yeah. If anyone is interested, if you're interested, Tom, a British political journalist called Andrew Neil um, absolutely annihilated Alex Jones on his channel. It's probably on YouTube somewhere.
I got to check that out.
He out debated him left, right, and centre. It was a really interesting watch. And Alex Jones was losing the plot, which is, I suppose, not really a surprise. He lost the plot a long time ago. But yeah, let's bring. I was going to ask you about Made Men, but we spent 48 minutes on it already, and we haven't got to one. Actually, just is there anything else just before I bring Paddy on? Is there anything else that you've been up to recently that you care to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was on a smaller podcast, I'm Right podcast. I should connect you with those guys. You can maybe do some stuff together from across the pond. Maybe get on each other's show to get some exposure. So I was on that
Cool.
podcast. It was a long form podcast. I find myself doing more business interviews now than the legacy mob stuff. It's just I'm more of an interest in it. So I have some other podcasts lined up. Some I'm looking to book. I got some pretty big guests lined up. I don't want to say anything until it kind of materializes. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting guest on. We actually hosted, I don't know if you saw my story, the guy that I'm going to introduce you, Kevin Donato. We had a rooftop screening of his New Jersey gangster movie in Asbury Park, New Jersey, on the rooftop. Hundreds of people came. It was a beautiful time. You know who showed up? Andrea Giovino from Get Gotti.
No.
Yeah, so she's a friend of mine. She showed up. Her son showed up. Her friend Ahmad. Are you a UFC guy? You like UFC?
I prefer boxing, but
Yeah.
I can as long as it's not Conor McGregor, I can tolerate UFC.
Well, so Frank, Frankie the Answer Edgar, Frankie Edgar showed up because he was in the movie. We had some pretty cool people show up that night.
Yeah, I'm just in the mist because appreciate you putting me in contact with Kevin. I'm just in the process
you're gonna like him. I forgot that I connected you guys right. I knew I was going to. And he's fresh off of Softway Underbelly that has like 5 million subs. So he's a good get for you.
Cool. Okay. Right. Let's bring. Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Let's bring my buddy. Is it Patsy, by the way? Because I've been calling you Paddy. Is it Patsy or Paddy? You're on, but
Is he freezing?
Hold on a minute. Oh, is he come off? Oh, I think he's disconnected. Hold on. Oh. No, I think he's got no connection.
You got to forgive me. I saw your interview with him, but I didn't get time to watch it. Was he a next guy in the life, or what was his deal?
So, yeah, that's a good time actually to chat about that. So his father and uncles were called the Pontiac brothers. Okay. And they were big-time drug dealers in East Harlem. And he's back now. And I'll just tell them if that's all right, Patsy or Paddy. I need to get to the bottom of that because it's embarrassing myself. So Paddy was around lots of mafia guys, lots of drug dealers in and out of prison, met Sonny Francis and Vinny Basciano and people like that, didn't you, Paddy? Welcome, Paddy. Is it Patsy or Paddy?
It's Paddy. But Nick's calling me Patsy. I'm laughing.
That's Nick Romano's fault because I thought, I'm calling you the wrong name. So yeah, I'll blame Nick for that.
That Patsy, they use that, but I never went by Patsy,
Okay.
He just going, Patsy, what's
up, Okay, yeah, I saw him wrote it and I thought, have I been... But whatever, anyway. So it's just to confirm, it's Paddy, not Patsy. Okay, cool.
Paddy, was your father in the 116th Pleasant Avenue crew, or where was he out of?
My father wasn't Cosa Nostra. He was a top narcotics man on Pleasant Avenue, going back to the late 40s.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Did he deal with like the Purple Gang at all, or no?
Yeah, well, he knew them all.
Yeah.
He knew them all. They were all friends of his, but he was there way back before them. You know, my father was alive today, he'd be 100 years old. So
Oh,
he had like 10 plus years on all those guys that were there. Echoes, Ernie Boy, fucking Fat Gigi, and all of them.
yeah.
I didn't introduce you, Paddy. It's Tom Lavecchia. Tom Lavecchia. Paddy. Appreciate it.
Patty,
Might be a
pleasure.
little late, but
Appreciate. I see. I watch your shows. Nice to meet you, bro.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm happy that you check out my show. Hopefully you like it. You know, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I watch your show.
I was going to ask you actually, Tom. Out of all the people that you've interviewed, and you've interviewed hell of a successful people, who
Yeah.
do you think has got out of all the people you've interviewed by yourself has the most wealth
In the mob life or outside the mob life?
outside the mob life? Because I
I
think we
just
probably
interviewed
know the one inside the mob life.
I interviewed Mark Laurie recently, and he started diapers.com. An interesting story with this. So he started diapers.com, and Jeff Bezos wanted to buy him out. And he kind of choked him out where it kept selling diapers cheaper to kind of lower his valuation. So Jeff Bezos bought him out for $600 million. Now you would think that's a lot of money, but it could have been worth billions. So Mark was forced to work for Jeff Bezos for a few years. After he was allowed to go work on his own because he had to earn off the money, he started another company called Jet.com, which got bought up by Walmart, and he got his revenge against Jeff Bezos by stealing market share from from Amazon. So fast forward a few years later, he started a company called Wonder.com, which is restaurants, like 17 restaurants in one place. They have a convection oven, the food's prepped in a commissary, and they get it to your house in 20 minutes. His valuation recently was $3.5 billion, and he owns about 10% of that company. He's a billionaire a few times over. He owns part of the Minnesota Timberwolves in the U.S., and he's business partners with Alex Rodriguez. I think he's the wealthiest guy that I've interviewed.
Really, that's interesting. What's the guy's name?
Mark Laurie, Lore.
Mark Laurie. Got a question from Farbo. Would you consider doing an interview with Peppino Rossi? Think you would do a good job on it as an Italian American?
Peppino Rossi, who's that?
I'll Google him. Give me a sec.
I think Furbo's messing with me because I think Google it, but I think he's messing with me.
Peppino.
If I'm not mistaken, it's somebody I would have not much interest in interviewing. But yeah,
The first person that comes up to me is
hold on. Is it a male porn actor?
No, it's a football player.
Oh, Giuseppe Rossi. Oh, okay. I thought of somebody else. Oh, Giuseppe Rossi. I would love to interview if that's Peppino Rossi.
Yeah.
Probably the same guy. And I met him recently in New Jersey. Sorry, at a conference. He's a good guy and did really well in Serie A and other leagues.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's Right, I'll tell you what. Since Paddy's here, we'll Paddy. Hold on a minute. Hold on a sec. Let me get him
Paddy,
back
wait,
on.
hold on. If you're talking the 40s, your father was probably getting it from the Corsicans, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Hold on, Pat. I think you muted yourself, Paddy.
That's the time of the original French Connection.
Yeah, it says I've got to ask you to Can you just say something, Paddy? Paddy.
He's muted, Rob.
Yeah, it says ask for unmute. So, do you want to drop back off and then come back on again, Paddy, and we'll have you back on? Right. So let's go through the people that you've interviewed, Tom. I've got a list here because you're the person on here who's interviewed the most made men. Yeah, on like MobTube, YouTube. Bobby Luisi, Paul Tanzo, Anthony Aralotta, John Panisi, Sammy the Bull, Salvo Rena, and you've got Alleged next to that. Michael Francis, Larry Mazza, and Dominic Sacali. Right, should we go through? Can we go through one at a time?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Bobby Luisi, I've interviewed Bobby Luisi as well. He's doing a teaching ministry now, which he does lives, and I was actually chatting to him. I think it was a few days ago on his live, asking him like biblical questions and discussing love and lust and how they work together and sort of far out things like that. Yeah. So Bobby Luisi. So how did you?
Yeah, so Bobby, I actually spent time with him and Paul when I was in Boston. So I got to spend some time with him personally, had meals with him, got to spend a good amount of time. I personally like Bobby. My take is, his father was not a made guy, but he was in that life. His family was kind of in that life. He had an issue with somebody from the Patriarcha, so he couldn't get made. So he kind of gets hooked up with the Philly guys. I think of him, and I think he might agree with this. He was kind of a successful wise guy and a successful drug dealer. What I was surprised about, though, from the business aspect, when he was dealing with the guy who turned out to be a Fed, he said, "Let me deal with him. I don't want my guys to get pinched. I got a weird feeling about this guy." And then eventually, got taken down because of that. And although, in my opinion, I think he thought that as being good leadership and being good for guys, if you get pinched, there is no crew, right? So I was just surprised how he kind of handled that. I would have put some buffers. I would have had like some tested him out a little bit. I was just surprised. I forget his name. He was on Patrick's Bet David too. He was a former Fed. I was just surprised how he got taken down. Then the second part is he had an agreement with the Feds, and I think he might have testified. I think at one trial, I'm not sure, but then he had a disagreement with the Feds, and then they disconnected. Again, I would have probably had a better lawyer and negotiated probably a better deal. I think Bobby's a very smart guy. I personally like him. I get along with him. But what I learned also, what I was surprised with, when he was kind of making money and needed to wash it, I thought the mob would kind of be there to help him wash it. He was kind of on his own, so I found that interesting. So,
Yeah, about his case, I read up, not extensively, but I did read up on his case for research on the interview, and it sort of reeks of entrapment, and I discuss it with him, but he got convicted and he had part of his sentence overturned. But like when you look at what it was over, from my understanding is whether Joey Molino told him to sell drugs to this undercover, or whether Joey Molino said it was okay for him to sell drugs to this undercover. That's two, even though you think they might be kind of close, they're massive. One of them's like, Joey Molino told me to, and one of them like, Joey Molino shrugged his shoulders and said, "Do what you want." So then you're the kind of perpetrator on the latter one.
Well, that and that scumbag Ron Previty, which Bobby said he never liked, but yet still sold to the undercover agent. That's what I'm surprised about with Bobby. Was the one who caused the whole thing. The coach of bourbon is the answer. Hey, Jesse Roth. I prefer bourbon over scotch.
Where's this? Hi, Jesse Roth. Marta's in there as well. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Well, wait. So Bobby Luisi says that, and we don't go. He said, she said, but that Joe Molino he didn't want to deal with Previty. This is his story, but Molino told him to deal with Previty. So I don't know if you actually watched it was the second.
I saw most of it because you did a really good clickbait on Joey better not threaten him or something. Like he said something about Joey and the clickbait. Dude, you're like the clickbait master, by the way. So that drew me in. I watched most of the interview. He started talking about stuff that we talked about. So I zoned out a little bit. And I'm not calling Bobby a liar. I just don't know how involved he was with Joey. And that's, I don't want to say much because Joey's on YouTube and Bobby's on YouTube, and that's for them to sort that part out. But I do believe Bobby was a powerhouse. He had a crew of killers with him. And he was a serious guy in the life. You kind of can't take that away from him, you know.
Yeah. Do you think he's genuinely reformed? I suppose if you don't want to answer that question, don't worry
I
about it.
mean, I
But
spent a little time with him, and not that we were going to get into a fight with anybody or was he aggressive, but you know, it does seem he's humbled and is living a new life. But that was just a short representation. But I personally believe he is. Because hey, listen, otherwise, he's been out what since like the early 2000s, late 90s. He would have recidivated at this point, in my opinion.
yeah, no, I agree. Paul Tanzo, him and Bobby have got an interesting relationship. I didn't actually cover that in the interview because I just thought it was a bit silly,
Yeah,
if
what
you know
what
what I
what
mean.
what 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 really sucks is what I loved about Paul was, or like about Paul, he appears he's a very loyal guy, right? And I love the fact that he was so loyal to Bobby, even though he turned. And Paul Tanzo, as far as I know, was not an informant. So therefore, I loved Paul's loyalty. I spent time with Paul when I was in Boston. With Bobby. I went up. I was there by myself. We had a great time, and I like Paul a lot. Paul's fun. I think Paul's a little crazy, but I think he'll admit that. But I am saddened to see that they had a falling out because they had great fun. I love that commercial. I do. I'll be remiss if I didn't say I'm kind of sad that they don't get along anymore.
So did you when you saw these guys? Did you go to Boston? Did they like wander around Boston with you, or did
Yeah,
you?
what's interesting is we walked around the North End and we didn't skip a beat. I mean, I was a little nervous myself because being with them, but nothing. We didn't skip a beat.
Because Bobby said that his crew's still about in the North End.
There,
But
there,
yes,
there, there is, and I had a feeling we maybe like passed them or ran into them as a feast. But there was no skirmish at all. No issue.
and Bobby was comfortable about wandering around the North End
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, I've been with informants when active guys came around, and the informants act on wide parts of the spectrum. But in my opinion, Bobby didn't look scared. We went to like a cigar place, which was a kind of central to the North End, and I think it was even owned by a wise guy. And we went there no problem.
Did Bobby and Paul have a cigar?
I believe so, but I don't know if he enjoyed it as much as Bobby.
Probably didn't enjoy it as much as you either.
Yeah, and then
Because you love.
that's when I was more of a Scotch guy, and I would probably at that time be drinking. I know it's blended, but a Johnny Walker Black or maybe like a single malt Macallan. But now I just got back from Louisville, Kentucky. We can talk about that. I should have mentioned that. I don't know why I didn't, but I just got back from Louisville, Kentucky, and I did a bourbon trail tasting and a whole media thing. It was nice.
Really, you did a bourbon choice. What? So you were drinking like different bourbons?
Yeah, so we
Oh,
went to I think you'll appreciate this. We went to first a distillery that makes for Jefferson's, and Jefferson's a premium bourbon out of Kentucky. And we tried the single barrel, the twin oak, the twin barrel, but they have one version. They found out when the cask gets moved, it speeds up the aging process. They actually have Jefferson's Ocean. They put the cask out to sea. It hits 36 ports of call in 2 years, comes back, takes it off the ocean liner, and then bottles it because of the moving around the cask speeds up the fermentation. It was absolutely delightful.
oh my god, that is fascinating.
Yeah, it's called Jefferson's Ocean.
Jefferson's Ocean. Can you get it in? You're in New Jersey, aren't you? Can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get it
I mean,
there?
I to be honest, it's kind of hard to get. If I can get it, and if I can get it through, send it over to you, and I'll get through customs. I'd love to send you a bottle.
Oh, mate, that'd be amazing. Thanks. Yeah, might probably cost you more than the whiskey.
I know. And then we went to called Bardstown. Bardstown is a town there, but Bardstown Bourbon Company, a little more new age. They like, kind of use AI, a lot of different tools, a lot of different stuff, more new school. And we were taking it straight out of the cask. It was absolutely beautiful. 110, 120 proof, knock you right on your ass.
Any hangovers the next day?
Not from that, from going out afterwards and having more old fashions. Because you're in Louisville. I'm an old fashioned guy to begin with. and I just had to try the different type of old fashions and maybe a little bit.
Spot on. Lefties left a comment. Organised crime these days doesn't work in a cohesive manner to better themselves and the organisations as a whole. They only work with one another if they're making money on that specific circumstance.
Yep.
Agree with that?
Hey, Lefty, we gotta connect with him soon. But that's so. I want to go back to Bobby for a second. I
Yeah.
was just surprised, and maybe I'm nerding out on the business stuff, but I was just surprised he didn't have more organizational support. When we talked about how he laundered his money, he set up a few different cash shops and a few other stuff. Like the Philly mob or the Boston mob didn't have like institutional banking relationships, and he's like, no. I kind of found that disappointing, to be honest.
I wonder, because he couldn't get in with the New York guys, with the Gambinos, could he? So I'm wondering if he could have got in with them. Maybe they could have helped him in that regard.
I would really hope so. In terms of, I hope the Gambinos have the ability to launder money, especially the guys doing heroin that are making big money with the Sicilians. So he said that Peter Gotti turned him down. I have no reason to believe that he's not telling the truth. I mean, I'm not here to be the arbiter of what's true or what's not. I'm just here to share people's stories.
Well, I suppose it would be a bit silly for him to admit that if it wasn't true, because it's not doing him any good reputation-wise to say that Gotti turned him down, is it, I guess?
One other thing that I found really interesting with Bobby, he was dealing in coke. He was getting it directly from the Colombians, and he told me that his Colombian connect. He goes, "Why don't you just buy it from the Italians in New York? They're buying 300 keys a month," and he didn't know who they were referring to, whether it be Italians or was it Italian Americans that were selling it in New York. We never got to that, nor I think he knew, but I found that interesting because there was a Genovese bust with the Indragada got tripped up a few years back where they were transshipping coke, some in New York, but transshipping it to Italy.
Spot on. Right, let's have a look at some new comments. Right. Our mate Rob Stone Sailor. Tom, plain mustard or grey poopin'?
There's a commercial from back in the day. Sir, do you have any Grey Poupon? It's a spicy mustard, but I will go with regular. I'm a regular mustard guy.
Right. What brand of dress shoe is Tom wearing? That is a weird question.
Right now I'm barefoot, but my favorite slide-ons are Santorini's.
You really think about all these things, don't you? Like,
my wife made me get them. I would have never got them myself, but I really like them.
I don't just mean your clothing. I mean, like, you talked about cigars, and you can talk all day about cigars. You talk to you about football. You can talk all day about football. You talk to you about booze. You can talk all day about booze and cigars.
There's a little bit of a backstop to that. So it's not as sexy as it sounds. So I grew up like a regular, like if anything, like lower middle class guy. Like my father left when I was 2. My mother, one of 6 kids, Italian immigrant, didn't even speak the language. Like we maybe made wine. That's a little I knew. Maybe I had an uncle that smoked cigars. When I got into pharmaceuticals, I said to myself, I'd go into pharmaceutical sales. I said, I need to be able to relate to these doctors. So I made it a point to learn about cigars, learn about wines, learn about certain dress, so I can kind of like not be so, so sophomoric with them. And that's kind of how I picked a lot of that up. And the truth is, that's why they call it the finer things in life, because they are nice things.
I should take a leaf out of your book, I think. Get knowledgeable about the finer things in life. I know, Lefty again, I know a Boston wise guy who's still active, who has seen Bobby at his job working outside of Boston, but nothing happened.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Bobby said, as much. He said that no one's going to touch him there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, there's my mate. Standing on business with Eric Foss.
Hello, Eric. How are you?
I've been wondering where you are, Eric. I've been asking about as well. You've fallen off the face of the earth, but you're back. That's good. Bollocks to you too, buddy. Did you want to come on and have a chat with Tom? I'll drop a link if you do.
Yeah, I don't know, Eric. I'd love to meet him. I understand there's some new or shows, and you're one of them that are popping up. I think I might have seen Eric in my feed, I believe, or he might have been on a show. But I never had the pleasure of meeting him. But yeah, I'd love for him to come on.
He's one of my favorite content creators. He's got a really underrated channel. Like he's only new anyway, but
Yeah.
like I am. But he like dissects things because he's been in prison. Or probably if he comes on, he'll tell you all this. But he's been in
Yeah.
prison for state and federal for the best part of his adult
Oh
life.
wow.
He's knocking on 50 now. But when something happens, he dissects it from his mind, like from what he's been through, and it's fascinating to hear what he has to say about certain situations. John, I think Gotti Jr., Joey Molino, what the
Oh
feds are going to
wow.
do about X or Y, and it blows my mind because I don't think that way. I haven't got that background,
No.
but he has the. Yeah, so I listen to him for sort of. He does like 10, 15 minute stuff. And
That's like what's needed, right? Like I've never spent the night in jail. I know nothing about it. I've obviously spoken to people that are incarcerated, but to listen to somebody who can break down maybe the psychology or the dynamic or the politics and break, like, to me, I'm fascinated. And again, talk about organized crime. When a lot of May guys go away, they say they leave the pinky ring at the door. Well, then why be in the mob if I don't have if I don't have protection in jail? My family doesn't get any money while I'm in jail. You're gonna take all my shit. What's the use of this brotherhood? I did chat with Chad Marks. He's got a great Blood on the Razor Wire. I got some good reference from him. But I'd be interested to hear from Eric. How did mob guys really get treated in jail? Because I'm kind of fascinated by that.
Well, funnily, yeah, because I watched the Blood on the Razor Wire guy as well. He's got like so many subscribers, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
he's a
like,
bigger show. Chad's a great man. I got him on. I want to say it was maybe at 100 or 200,000 subs. He grew wildly. I knew he would. And he's a gentleman. And he's now helping a lot of guys get out of jail. I'm a huge fan of his. Huge fan of Chad's.
yeah, he's got some interesting. He's another one who does perspectives on things and
Correct.
how it's going to pan out and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, he looks funny enough. I think he looks a bit like Eric Foss. Eric, the link's in the chat if you want to jump on, bud. If not, no problem. We'll catch up again soon. Anthony Arilotta, Pennsylvania boss. No, sorry, Springfield.
Anthony's out of
Springfield boss.
Springfield.
Yeah.
Anthony, I interviewed a few times, and we did spend some time in person in Boston, which we had some drinks, a few bourbons. I grabbed something to eat, and then we had some cigars afterwards. My kind of go-to. So, hey, Mickey, how are you, sir? So Anthony was interesting because he was a guy that was making a lot of money. And my opinion, and I told him this publicly and privately, he would have made a lot of money no matter what he did. I don't think he needed Cosa Nostra. I don't think he benefited from it. I don't think it enriched him in any way. He's just a consummate business guy. He's out of the life. He still does well for himself. He likes the nicer things. Forget about me. He likes the nicer things. And I have a good rapport with him. I had a great time spent together. I learned a lot about the life from him. And and kind of why I do my show. Would these guys be successful without the mob? And to me, Anthony is one of them.
He's one of the few. Well, I don't know actually. Would you say he's one? That's an assumption. Would you say he's one of the few that will be successful?
Yeah, because again, when I break down Sammy in terms of the business end, now you can argue a good business guy leverages resources at disposal to make himself or herself successful. We can argue that, right? But with Sammy, if you took away his leverage or his power, would he have been as successful? I don't know. I got to think about that. I'm a thinker. I got to unpack. I got to move around. I got to swirl it around a little bit. But with Sammy, I probably think he'll get closer to no. But with Anthony, I think he'd be fine no matter what he does.
Yeah, interesting. What's he doing with himself, Anthony Arilotta now? Is he?
I believe he released his book. I believe.
Yes, it's 2024, isn't it? So it's a very recent book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the title, but it's yeah, that'll be. Have you read it? You gonna read it or not?
I have not read it. I got to order it. I want to maybe see if he'll sign it, but because I'd be pretty. I try it when I ever get books from authors. I try to get signed, but I would like to read his book. I haven't spoken to him in a little while. I probably owe him a text. Again, good rapport with the guy, and just personally think that he would be successful no matter what he did.
Chad, Stoned Sailor said Chad was in. Did you know this, Tom? Chad was in my prison. I was his
No,
CO.
I did not
Chad's
know.
a great dude and a friend.
I did not know that. Learn something new every day. And small world.
Yeah. Guy, you've got a history with John Panisi.
Yeah, John Panisi and I. So I interviewed him first when he got out of, I guess, or got into witness protection. We did a 9-part series, and then we wind up doing a show together. I think we had a show of about a run of about 80 shows, and I think it's one of those like brilliant but canceled type things where, he was very raw, new to media. I had a little more media experience, but I never really had a co-host, and we just kind of ran with it. And I have some regrets on some of the content that we did. I really wish we focused more on, two Italian American guys that went totally two different paths in our view on the world. And I think because of his popularity, and I think because of who he was, obviously people wanted to know about modern day Cosa Nostra, including myself. So, but we had a good run, no regrets. I don't really talk to John. We're not friends any longer, but I'll never say anything negative about anybody, including John. And we had a good run. I learned a lot about him. I learned a lot about the current modern day Cosa Nostra, and it's borderline disappointing. And to be honest, it's underwhelming. The fall from grace that the organization kind of has come to, in my opinion.
I haven't watched Panisi in depth, but he comes across as very serious.
He's a very stoic guy, but again, if you look at the macro view of this, if you're a soldier in Cosa Nostra, you need a stoic guy, somebody, a few words, more action. As a soldier, you are to follow the instructions, of the organization, and whatever deeds have to be carried out, and then also build your own bench with a full level of associates. John knows the street life. John went away very early, came out, hit the street right away. I think he regrets it. I know he regrets it, and he does talk about that on the show. But personally, in my opinion, I just think he exemplifies the fall of Cosa Nostra. He was like probably a guy that grew up, or was a guy that grew up. You either went to school, you became a public servant, or you went into the mob, and he made the wrong choice. And I think he regrets it.
Would you go back, sort of, is it click with him again, or is that
I
busted
mean,
flush?
I think that ship sailed. But I'm like a very open guy. I don't know. I don't know what it's from. I can chat with people. That I'm not saying he doesn't like me. I'm not saying he likes me. I don't know how he feels about me. But he's a gentleman. Even if he had ill will, I don't think he was saying it publicly. But let's say he dislikes me. I'm okay with chatting with somebody who dislikes me because they're welcome to their opinion. And if I rub them the wrong way, that's on them, not me. I chat with him again. If we did a reunion, I wonder how that would do, but I don't think he's super interested in it.
Okay. Lefty's got a couple of interesting comments, actually. Anthony was selling millions in weed. I was grabbing £20 a week at one point in the early 2000s, and it was a monopoly because it was high end bud before anyone had it. And he also goes on to say, I talked with Anthony yesterday. He's in Cali right now doing another Vlad TV interview,
Oh
amongst other
yeah,
things.
Anthony and I follow each other on Instagram, and I think he was like working out or something, and we're like California living, so I just assumed he was in California.
Yeah. Okay. Because I haven't seen him much on YouTube, so I guess if he's doing a Vlad interview, then he's
Yeah,
going to be blow up a little, certainly at least
yeah.
for a
I,
short
I
time,
think
isn't it?
I think for a guy like Anthony, who is more of a business guy, the genre really didn't like super take off. Everybody thinks it did. It didn't. A lot of the shows remain small. Maybe some of the informant shows have grown. Obviously, Francis, Sammy, and then maybe like an OC Shorts. I know Jeff Nadeau's growing again. But in terms of growing and like monetization, I don't know anybody who really kind of crushed it outside of the big ones. And I think with Anthony, if you don't have a show, like the juice got to be worth the squeeze. So good for him, and hopefully he's just doing bigger interviews and is finding a way to monetize his story.
Yeah, yeah. Be interesting to see where he goes, I suppose. Sammy the Bull.
Yeah. So when we interviewed each other, we both had the C-19, so we're super under the weather. But I was able to ask what I wanted to, and I was impressed in terms of the way that organization was in the 80s. It was a $500 million a year organization back then. In terms of dollars, it would have been in the Fortune 500 back then. In current dollars, you're looking at probably about 50 billion relative in relative money. So they were a powerhouse. I was a little underwhelmed in certain questions. I felt he gave me the stock answers that he kind of gives, but I got what I wanted out of it. You see, people kind of wanted me to ask him all these kind of different questions, ask him about killing, ask him about all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to learn as a number two guy in John Gotti, what was John Gotti's leadership style was like, and how did the mob really make money back then, and was it a smart business organization? So I felt I reached the end, my end goal, but some of the answers were a little stock answer. But overall, I was fairly happy with the interview. I'm friends with his daughter, so I'm not a big guy gotcha guy anyway, so I wasn't looking for gotchas, and I was happy with it. It's my number one interview to date. I think over 200,000 views, and I was pretty happy with the interview.
Yeah, you're you related in some way, aren't you? To
Yeah, so
um,
his niece Rena married my first cousin Anthony.
well, he did you ever meet him outside or Karen outside of MobTube?
Well, Karen I'm friends with. Yeah, Karen I'm personal friends with.
Yes. The thing I was really excited when Sammy. Well, no, that's probably no. I wouldn't say I was really excited. I don't get really excited about a lot of things, but I was really interested to see when Sammy came on to
Well,
YouTube. I
so
thought it
so
was
when I kind of connected with Karen again was you remember the movie Entourage? The show, I'm
right.
sorry, the show Entourage.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, I've heard of it.
It was on HBO in the States, and it was a huge, not as big as Sopranos, but close. It was big. Nah, maybe not close because it's a cult, but big enough if you're an Entourage fan. And Kevin Conley was in it, directed Gotti's movie. But anyway, the bad one. So I actually met Karen at the premiere of the final season of Entourage because I knew her like kind of growing up through family. But as I told you in the interview, my mother kept me away from them, so we reconnected kind of later in life. And I would be with her. We'd be at dinner, and Sammy would call her from Supermax or wherever he was, and he'd be on the phone, and she would talk about his art and talk about different stuff. And then when he came out, I don't think any expected what he did. I found that interesting.
No, the one thing I think that I find, I don't know, it's probably an observation. I don't
Yeah,
give a shit really, but with him is that he doesn't appear to take responsibility for the things that he's done. So, for instance, the John Gotti, he kind of, in my view, perversely caused John Gotti the rat, and that John Gotti was going to, you know, screw him over, and also when he got into the ecstasy ring, because interesting, no, you mentioned Sean Atwood to me, and I know Sean Atwood, and not as in personally, but I
yeah,
have met him once in the UK. He's a UK content creator, and he actually, for those who don't know, went to when he was young. He went to Arizona. He had family there, lived in Arizona, became a big time ecstasy dealer. Very intelligent guy,
yeah,
big time ecstasy dealer, and he was flying out ecstasy pills before they were really known what they were in a sense in the States, a party drug. Sammy the Bull moved in on his patch,
yeah,
and they had like a war between the two of them. And then when Sammy, obviously, again, when he went into prison, he really said, "Well, I wasn't really any part of this. It was my son. It was my son's friend." And it's kind of like, you know, it's like you kind of look at it and, he paints himself, in my view, I think, as a bit too much of a good light. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I would agree that if he took more accountability for his actions over the years, especially the stuff that he did as a man, putting his family, going against photos. It would actually, again, this comes the marketer in me, the business guy, but I think it would help his brand. People would, when I'm saying they like him, but they, you know what? At least that living, he's pretty owns it. But when he starts responsibility, I think it's off-putting some.
Yeah, you cracked up a little bit towards the end now.
Oh, I think by the lack of accountability could be off-putting to some.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't mind listening. I sometimes jump on his lives every now and again, but I think the thing is, he's a bit like Francis. He's kind of well, Mike Francis has morphed into other areas like politics, isn't he? And
Yeah,
interviewing the son of Sam and people like that. So he's kind of got a two-way thing going on. He's Francis. He's being interviewed, but he's also
correct.
interviewing him. So I think it keeps him fresh. And he's got products out. Whereas I think Gravano, I know he's done one or two interviews, but he's kind of, I think he's his stories are running out now. You
Yeah,
know, I
I, th-
think
I think Sammy is a little less dynamic, right? Like if you look, Michael's a racketeer. Michael could sit down with the head of state. He could have a glass of wine with anybody. He's well versed in politics, business, society. Where Sammy's a little older and I think a little bit more street guy, did more time, and it shows. I think Sammy's strength was when he first got out, and he was with that first producer. The name escapes me. When he did episodes, when he did scripted
yeah,
episodes in the chair with the sound effects. The lives, he's not like that witty. He's older. His mental faculties seem to be off a little bit. He seems to get aggressive at times. So if I was like leading a show or producing a show, or if I was his manager, I would go back to just doing episodes, and I think that's a strong suit.
yeah. No, fair play. I like. Bottom line is, I'm glad he came on and we got to kind of see him because he was always kind of a mystical character, wasn't he?
Correct.
You know, it's
Correct.
good he's come on and sort of told his side of the story and joined in the genre. Um, Salvo Rena alleged mate
Yeah.
man.
So the only reason I guess publicly I can say, and anybody can say, is he got arrested for mafia association, and he did 8 years in jail. So he's the son of Totorina. His book, The House of Rena, was I think sold #1 in the UK out of all the countries. It was kind of banned in Italy, so it wasn't as popular there. Um, and his father was a beast. And we didn't talk about Cosa Nostra. We just talked about him growing up, about his father. We did 2 interviews, his first ever interview in the U.S. We did a follow up interview, and I should have just shown. I was, I regretted not showing him U.S. pictures. I was wondering if he knew who John Gotti was. I'm wondering if he knew who, certain pop culture, maybe Al Capone, and like, certain ones would he have known. But I'm like, they also don't want to like. It's Salvador, it's Totorina's son, so like, I also don't want to like turn it into a meme either. So I want to try to, I guess, match its energy or give the right levity to that type of interview. And that was one of my favorites. Yeah, one did pretty well. The last one didn't do as well. Most of the views are out of the UK actually on that one. But that was a really interesting interview. And if you're really into like really into this stuff, you definitely want to hear what Salvarina has to say about his father.
You speak fluent Italian as well, don't you? I didn't know
I
that.
understand. I understand. I speak it well enough. I speak dialect a little better.
Okay. Do you know, I'm listening to an Audible at the moment on the Rizzuto family, and you've
Yeah.
done some interviews with people from Canada, and I find the Canadian. So we spoke about this, didn't we, in the interview? But
Yeah.
I find a Canadian really like fascinating because there's a lot of stuff on here
Yep.
about the American Cosa Nostra. I mean, God, you could spend all year like reading about it, listening to it, watching it, but there's nowhere near as much on the Canadian. But yet the Canadian,
Because there are less informants, because they will kill you and your family. The Sicilians follow the Sicilian rule, and the Ndrangheta, the Camiso clan, and others are all related. You're going to be less inclined to rat on your physical brother, your brother-in-law, or your cousin. So they're doing it right, and it's less punitive there, so they're able to operate a little more aggressively. And I would put I don't know about the recurrent day Rizzutos because they're fighting with everybody right now. But the Ndrangheta that's in Canada, I would put usurps all five Cosa Nostra families together by far.
Because they're like across all states, aren't they? Like Ontario,
The
in
Ndrangheta
Quebec.
operates in 6 continents, and I'm not surprised if they have land in Antarctica. If they did, it wouldn't surprise me. And they operate the Honor Society in Australia. They control the cocaine market. They're starting to control some of the Canadian market. Some people say, well, the cartels would crush them. Well, they're the cartel's customer. They buy from the cartels. So whether it be out of Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, Brazil, and even Colombia, or even the Mexicans, they buy from them. So they have the power of the money. So if some whatever reason, if there's ever a world war, which I don't think there would be, they would be shooting their own customers. So the cartels are the strongest in might, but the Ndrangheta is probably, in terms of political power and wealth globally, is the strongest organization in the world, up there with the Russians.
Wow. Yeah, fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating. In American organized crime, Mafia, and well, let's go Mafia. That you think they're on their knees?
Yeah, I mean, in this area, there's probably 750 to 1,000 made guys around. There's probably incarcerated like 300 or 400 made guys over the years. Probably about 10,000 associates. So within their kind of lane, they're strong. But in terms of like influencing everyday life in America or even in this area, not so much.
Not so much. Paddy, we got three more to get through, Paddy, all right? And then I'll bring you on. You'll be very patient. Thank you. Michael Francis.
Yeah, Michael at this point has become a friend. I've interviewed him 4 times. I think I've interviewed him the most in terms of the space. I know he parted with Sammy 2 or 3 times. But class act, great guy. Love his wine. And I think again, somebody who is somebody who's successful with or without the life, he is one of them. He didn't need Sonny Francis to be successful in that life. And if he was not in the life, he would be probably equally, if not more, successful.
Yeah, did you read about him? Actually, he was on Piers Morgan recently. He was
Yeah, I was
cancelled.
I was texting him because I was mortified about how they canceled all the shows after Andrew Tate and after his comment. I don't want to jam up your channel about his comment that
No,
they
it's cool.
alleged that they alleged was pro-Israeli, which I think I heard what he said. It was just a positive compliment towards Israel, and that was one half of the getting panties in uproar, and then the other half was him in interview.
Yeah, there was a few things you said there. Not every venue was cancelled, so
No,
only
so what
certain
I was I
venues.
was I was texting him in real time. I think before and after Piers. So he says like it was a disaster at first, but they rallied around. The promoters did a good job. I think one they did it in a gym. I think he got most, if not all, of his engagements off the ground. Just maybe had to change some venues, so it all worked out for him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, because the venues were independent, so some of them were just happy to have him. And like one that sticks into
But
my
I
mind,
was
I think it was one.
surprised. I was surprised at the churches that bailed on him because, and one for some reasons for the comment about Israel, and the other was about Andrew Tate, and I'm not sure why either church cares, but in that sense,
Well, but what else was happening was you had protesters
yeah,
protesting outside of these places. So the line that was used by some of these venues, if not all of them, was that it was unsafe to hold the meeting. Now, Francis says there was only a handful of protesters. Now, he's probably right, because can't imagine that people are going to come out with their pitchforks for Michael Francis. But I think they came out because of the, like you said, his comments or his stance on Israel, and also because of the Tate brothers. But I think the venue would probably think we don't really have not really that bothered on it. But if it's going to bring negative publicity, having protesters and throwing eggs possibly or whatever at Francis, then they're probably thinking, shit, we have to get extra security here. And if something happens to Francis, this will look terrible on us. So it's going to cost us more money. So that's my theory anyway. Might be
Well,
wrong.
I think it goes deeper. I think there might have been a level of danger with maybe some of the the anti-Israeli protesters.
That's true.
I think that dynamic is different in both countries, and I'm comfortable chatting about this. In my opinion, I feel the U.S. government has historically taken a slant or a lean towards Israel. My opinion, Europe seems to be a little more empathetic towards the Palestine cause, which I understand, but that's also because of the population in pockets. In France, you have 15% of the population that are Muslim. It's less in the UK, but it's a powerful minority. It's a powerful group. So I think when you have that dynamic and a powerful minority, you got to be careful. And I think that's what happened.
I don't think there's any more powerful minority than the Jews. By the way, I'm not saying that
Yeah,
I'm one way or another. The one thing
yeah,
I really wish for is peace. I'd love to
correct.
see, like, I think probably if you were going to push me, this is my view on it. I think
Please.
that the Palestinians were terrible what they did, but I think Israel then were kind of went to a new level of retaliation on the Palestinians, and it was almost like an excuse. Right, these bastards have done what they've done. We're just going to go and sort of wipe them out and take over. And I kind of think both of them are wrong. And hopefully it can be
Well,
resolved.
I think it's important though, and I really like I'm not one of those guys. I got to be careful what I say because I say how I feel. I feel that we have to make a distinction between the Palestinian people and Hamas. Right now,
Of
Hamas is
course,
a
yeah.
governing body since 2005. They have had it in their charter where they wanted to extinguish and exterminate, the entire Jewish population, not just in Israel but the world. And they are just evil, bad people. And the truth is, they didn't get voted in; they took that election. So, in my opinion, Hamas is what carried that out on October 7th. It was a an unspeakable horror. I don't think anybody can, debate otherwise. And I'm empathetic towards the Palestinian people because they're the ones that are suffering. And you could argue on moral equivalency and discuss the proportionality of the response, and that's a whole nother probably
Mm.
show. But I believe you can support Israel, but also be empathetic towards the Palestinian people. That's my personal belief. You're
Yeah,
welcome
no,
to agree, disagree, but that's kind of where I land.
no. I think it's a sensible way to think about it. Sensible point of view, and just hope that it gets resolved, which it probably won't. But I hope it gets resolved in a not too distant future.
Yeah.
Um, where are we, Mr. Mazza, Larry Mazza?
So Larry, I interviewed, I think twice, and I had a good rapport with him, and I really like Larry. And I was really interested to hear about the Colombo War, obviously, how Greg Scarpa was, and Mazda was kind of an earner. He was that rare, like he'll kill you. He was a tough guy. Shot that guy. I can't remember something black or whatever on the street. The name escapes me. The shotgun. So obviously he had the capability to do bad things, but he also made money. And I think again he's another guy that he would be successful no matter where he landed in life. It's such a shame that some of these guys even got tripped up this life to begin with. Because here's the truth of the matter: they could say what they want. Anybody could say what they want. They simply weren't built for the life if they didn't cooperate. Right? Doesn't make them less of a man. Doesn't make them weak. People can debate that all day long. That's people always welcome to have their opinion. It just wasn't right for them, and I wish some of these guys maybe took a different way out versus informing or versus the path they took. But we are where we are, and you gotta be empathetic towards people, and you gotta be able to forgive people. I'm a Catholic Christian. It's one of our core tenets. It's not where you begin; it's where you end. And that's my thought. But Larry is a very intelligent guy, very successful, and one of those who be successful no matter what.
Dominic Sakali. He's been causing some ripples recently, hasn't he? Do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
buy into his well, his assertion that what did they say? They got a hit out on his old cronies have a hit out on him.
Yeah, Dominic. He just texted me the other day. I was chatting about some stuff. He's an interesting guy. So he, I believe, is the only made member out of the Bronx of all the families to ever roll. The Bronx is a very serious place. The wise guys there do not mess around. I personally believe you can go back to Brooklyn, probably in Queens, if you were an ex guy in that life. The Bronx is tough. I worked in the Bronx for a number of years. I know the Bronx map by the back of my hand. When I chatted offline with him, he knew a lot of serious people. With him, again, I think that he's somebody that, although he was primed for that life, he was somewhat groomed early on, I believe, by the Genovese guys. I just don't think ultimately it was for him, you know. And then when he got, in his opinion and his point of view, is he got screwed over by Vinny. Is that an excuse to roll? I don't know. Again, I'm not the arbiter of who should roll and who shouldn't. But yeah, interesting guy, and I do believe he probably had some notification that he may be in some sort of danger. I don't think, I'd like to think he wouldn't broadcast that if he wasn't, because that would be for clicks and that'd be weird. But right. But nevertheless, um, I do think some of the people that he does talk about are active and they are dangerous.
Wow. Okay, that's a rundown of the 9 made men that you've interviewed. So really appreciate that, Tom. I'm just going to bring in. Good time to bring in Paddy actually, because Vinny Gorgeous Basciano, Paddy's had some dealings with, haven't you, Paddy?
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah,
You're on,
Vinny,
by the way.
Yeah,
You want to
I
tell the
hear you.
story?
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I back in 1992, I had a problem with the Bananas with this guy Johnny Mulberry. You ever hear of him, Tom?
With the bananas now.
Johnny Mulberry. He was from my area. He was from Long Island,
Okay.
and he's still a fucking piece of shit. You know, I was with him, his brother-in-law, and me. We were taking action. You know, booking everything.
Yeah.
So I gave them an office to turn into. It was my cousin's office, and I says, whatever you do, turn the action in. You know, yeah. And then I started hearing things that, they weren't turning in. So I shied away from them. I told them, fuck you, you know? So I get back down to this. I had to wind up going to a sit down in the Bronx with fucking Johnny Mulberry. Vinny Gorgeous was there. I met Vinny there. I had met him once before. And hello, Gorgeous. Nice guy, sweetheart of a guy. But when I went to go sit down with this Mickey Bats, this Johnny Mulberry, my father, and then Angel, you ever hear Angel Frisco?
Of course. It was in Jersey.
Yeah. The Angelo was very close to my father. He sat for us.
Oh
So
wow,
now I'm
that's
sitting there.
that's a good guy to sit for you.
Yeah, Angelo. Yeah. My father knew him a long time. And we're sitting there, and this motherfucker is lying through his teeth, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm getting fucking angry. My father could look at me, right? My eyes, and he's kicking me under the fucking table. You know, like calm the fuck down, you know? Because they were trying to shake me down, you know? So basically what happened was we wound up losing a sit down, right? And I was fucking pissed. So it was over $5,000, you know? And everything happens, and then they go, oh, when are we going to get paid? So my father goes, hey, I just come home 2 weeks ago. He goes, when I get on my feet, I'll give it to you, you know? And basically after that happened, they never got paid. And I had seen this guy Johnny like maybe 5 years later. He went to the can. He did time, and I'm walking across the street, and all of a sudden I hear somebody go, yo, Paddy. And I look over, and it's this fucking scumbag. He goes, you got money for me? I says, no, I ain't got fucking nothing for you. I says, I got cock for you, motherfucker, because you know you're a fucking bullshit artist, you know? And it's a serious story, you
Yeah.
know? And he's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I says, you ain't getting fucking nothing, you know? I don't give a fuck what you fucking do. You ain't getting nothing because you're a piece of fucking shit, I call them, you know?
Hey.
And
Wouldn't
then we
wouldn't
wind up.
Angelo just pay that off, and you guys would pay Angelo off? I mean, just following protocol, or no?
No, Angelo pay. Angelo's a tight motherfucker. Angelo ain't gonna put no out of his pocket.
Got it.
You think he's gonna pay? No, they never got paid. You know,
Damn.
because they must have went through my father. At that time, he did time with Joe Messino back then,
Okay.
and he was good friends with Joe Messino.
Yeah.
So
Bollocks.
As soon
Noise
as it
cut
gets,
out.
as soon as it gets good, right?
As soon as you get to the good bits. Yeah. What was I going to say to you? Lefty wants to jump on in a minute, so I'll
Yeah,
let
have him
Paddy
on. Good guy.
finish his spiel. What are you up to these days then, Tom? Have you relaunched your Monster Inc? Not Monster Inc.
Yeah.
Mobster Inc.
So Mobster Inc. I did 2 interviews on there, just smaller ones. One was Kevin with the Bastard Son. Checked it out. It's on Amazon Prime. And the other one I interviewed Dutch. What's man? Why am I drawing? His name is Dutch McAlpin, I believe. He's started a podcast, Inside the Life, with the mob music with Giovanni Rocco, who took down the Jersey mob. And Dutch did undercover work with the feds, state, local, against mob, cartels, etc. We talked about his undercover work. He was an undercover biker. And he was actually one of the guys who took out a guy from my area, Charlie Stango, in the bus in 2015. So that was on Mobsters Inc. And it was a pretty cool interview.
Yeah, he's gone again. So you've got a couple of interviews under your belt. You got any more in the pipeline?
I have some stuff on the mob stuff. I have some stuff coming up. Like I said, I don't want to say anything they're confirmed. But what I'm trying to do, Rob, is I'd like to do in studio, which is good and bad. The good is you get a better interview. I'm happy if somebody's in New York, I send a car for them. Spend time with them. You really build a camaraderie, which makes for a better interview. The downside is they got to be in town. So I have like some big commitments, but I prefer to wait to do them until they're in town.
Do you prefer, because you did quite a few lives, didn't you, back in the day?
I used to do lives, and I just never. They just weren't me. Not that I'm not quick witted or I can't retain attention. I don't know. I don't know. It's like you have a chat and you have trolls and you have other stuff going on, and honestly, it didn't fit my power is my ability to connect with somebody and help them share their story and to really kind of unpack. That's my power. When I do a solo live or a live like this where I'm doing an interview, takes away from it. So I just noticed it just wasn't my core competency, and I said, it's not for me. I mean, I'll do occasional, but I don't love them.
I think the thing is, what I found with obviously it's only my third one, is they don't attract as many like watch hours or views as what a pre-recorded one does.
Correct. And also like my lives have a pretty good sub count. But like I have like those little like charts. A lot of my people don't watch lives. Especially when I did like a lot of international stuff. When I interviewed, Pablo Escobar's wife, I picked up a lot of people overseas. With Salvadorina, I picked a lot of people from the UK, Australia, Italy. So these people in Italy are not watching me do a live with whoever. So I need to cater to my audience. I'm just I don't fancy them, as you guys say,
Yeah.
and it's not my strong suit.
Okay. No, fair enough. Guys, the people that have been watching, most of you out there have said what a great show it is. Feel free to donate to the channel. I've just
Yeah,
put the ticker on. You can donate through PayPal, and there's or the YouTube thanks button. Now I've reached 1,000 subscribers, a big milestone for me.
good luck.
Yeah, in the what is it, 4,000 watch hours, I've got the thanks button and a few other bits and pieces. So yeah, so please donate away. That was it. Send your money to me. That'll be great. If you've enjoyed the show, then please just spare a little something. I was looking at these other things the other day, Tom. Like
Yeah.
buy me a coffee. Have you heard of that? Like where you
Yeah,
can
there's buy me a coffee. You can put your Cash App up. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat.
see Cash App in Vimo. Is it? It's not available in the UK. I can't. I
Really?
went to I went to donate and it said you can't donate from where you are, from your part of the world. So and Vimeo. So already I'm stuck with PayPal in the YouTube thanks button. But I was looking at these buy me a beer or buy me a coffee. But the thing is with them, I think, and I must admit I haven't looked deeply into it. It's like you have to pay like a monthly subscription. So I don't think they take the money from you as a like YouTube take
Now you're
30%.
better off. You're
Whatever.
better off doing it through YouTube. Get clipped for the 30%, and then just keep going. And then once you find the right medium and your audience is big enough, they'll definitely uh, contribute. I would just do it on the
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, yeah, so anyone, again, please send a few dollars. Buy me a coffee.
Yes.
Right, you're back on, Paddy.
Now I'm back on.
Oh,
This
you
thing
said Ollie.
keeps cutting
Okay.
out.
Right, okay. If it cuts off again, I just saw your message. If it cuts off again, bud, I'll email you later on and bid you farewell
Alright.
for the evening. But yeah, so you East Harlem, isn't it? Is where you're from?
Yeah.
Wait, I got a
Did
question,
you?
for Patty. Patty, have your father and you back in the day used to go to Rayo's a lot or no?
Yeah, we used to go down there, you know. I never ate down there, but I used to always be down there. My mother's girlfriend was the head cook there for 40 years, you know.
Nice.
Right,
You know?
Omar has. Sorry to interrupt. Omar has asked, what are the 9 made guys that Tom interviewed real quick? Okay, I've got them here. Bobby Luisi, Paul Tanzo, Anthony Aralotta, John Panisi, Sammy the Bull, Salvo Rena, alleged, Michael Francis, Larry Mazza, and Dom Sakali. I hope that answers your question, Omar. Yeah, sorry, guys. Right, where's
What a
Lefty as well?
crew.
Eric knew Charlie. Yeah, Charlie seemed like a good guy. Never met him personally, but I knew his mentor well.
Tom, what do you think of John Panisi?
Former co-host and former friend, and nothing bad to say.
A motherfucker ratted out my cousin.
Oh, really? Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a
Sorry.
great
My
story as
cousin is
well.
allegedly in prison now doing life for the Michael Meldish murder.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. Well, I know Michael Meldish was from that way where you and your father were from, and a lot of those guys like Paddy, etc., were from that area. Yeah, sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, I knew them all. I was better friends with Joey Meldish.
Oh, forget it. He at least 50 bodies, and they say that's actually a low number.
Yeah, Joey was always cool with me and my brother and my cousins, but he was a dangerous bastard, man.
Well,
You know?
a lot of people say that if Joey's out or Joe's out, um, Michael doesn't get killed. You know.
Yeah, it would have made it a little harder, you know, but they would have got him eventually because Joey was a mess back before he went away. He was sniffing dope like crazy. He was smoking crack, you know. He wasn't on top of his game back then, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a crazy story. I mean, listen, people, may or may not believe this. My opinion is that I understand John testified, and everybody's welcome to have their opinion. I do believe that the guys who were on that trial for that particular murder were not they were not guilty on that. Like that murder,
Oh,
that case was a sham.
yeah.
But the government's a government. Again, I'm just here to kind of show you the story, play the music. I'm not here to, you know, give too much of my opinion, but I do have an opinion on. I think that trial was a sham for those guys.
And yeah, that Kathy Seibel, she ran that courtroom like a Nazi. You
Yeah.
know, she knocked down every motion they brought in front of them. You know, and she had because her father was killed by MS-13.
Oh,
You know,
Ah. So again, wasn't it?
whenever.
As soon as you get to the interesting bit,
You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up, Rob. Oh, I think I lost you. I can't hear you now. Hello?
yeah,
Okay, now I can hear
I'm
you.
here.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, she ran that courthouse like a courtroom like a Nazi. Every motion they put up, they knocked it down. You had you had no gun, you had no video, you had nothing. Only thing you had was Frank Pasqua,
Yeah.
him the biggest one. John Panisi, which wasn't there. He said that his grandmother, as a ghost, told him to go cooperate. You know, and that was it. They ain't nothing. They're gonna get a new trial. You know.
Well, I hope so because the older guys are up in age, and I don't know how much time they have left, but hopefully they do. As it goes dark again.
Yeah, as it goes dark, and he's got some. If you get a chance, Tom, do watch that interview I've done. It's almost 3 hours. He's his cousin. One of his cousins killed somebody. Um, as I think was in prison for like 30 years, and now he's out.
Oh
Um,
shit.
and these things are like, I know you get a lot of people going, oh, it's a load of rubbish. Not necessarily to Paddy, but to right to be skeptical, I guess. But you
Yeah.
can like look these things up on Google, and there's reports, court reports, and all sorts. Obviously, the cousin that was as Paddy says, an alleged Lucchese crime family member, and it's a really funny story. Like it's a funny story if you're detached from it, I guess, like me.
Yeah.
But he was accused of trying to escape prison by hoarding dental floss and bed sheets and losing half his body weight, so he could kind of climb through the
Oh,
tree, something like
Landonio.
that.
Yeah, that's his cousin. Interesting.
Yeah, Londini. That's it, Londinio,
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't think there was truth to that, but
No, Paddy said it's a load of shit as well. Sabrina Merrick, Fast Donation. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and keep them coming, guys. If you're enjoying the show, please please keep them coming. Eric Foss. I knew Charlie Stango. Do you know Charlie Stango?
The Charlie is an
Tom?
alleged, so I guess convicted, but mob captain for the Cavalcante family here in New Jersey. He's a little up in age now, and he's from the Elizabeth area, New Jersey, where my family lived. And I knew his mentor, who was married to my cousin. His mentor was JoJo, was married to my mom's cousin, and I played football with his son, and I knew JoJo growing up. So it's interesting, and supposedly Charlie has like a shrine. JoJo likes cigars, so supposedly there's a big frame photo of JoJo having a cigar in Charlie's house. But I never met Charlie, but I met his mentor JoJo.
Really? Because Eric Foss has been in prison with Mark Reiter, um,
Oh wow!
several other old school
I don't know. I don't know if you
guys.
remember, but there was a movie.
Jimmy Coonan.
Yeah, there was a movie. We were younger, but there was a movie in the '80s called "The King of New York" with Christopher Walken,
Yeah.
and supposedly that was based off of Mark Ryder.
Yeah, funny enough, I just finished listening on Audible to the Gotti's Boys in
Oh
Brighton.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's really good. But Eric, jump on. Stop being shy. It's not like you to be shy. You'd have a great chat with Tom. I'm sure he'd be interested to hear um, some of your stories. But yeah,
Yeah.
Lefty's coming on in a bit. I'll drop the link again, guys, if anyone wants to jump on. And please Keep those donations coming in. I've got overheads. Yeah. So where were we? So yeah, I think Paddy's disappeared for the night, which was a shame because we were just again on another one. But
Yeah.
yeah, trying to think. I've interviewed Eric Foss as well, so there's another one for you or anyone out there would like to watch. That was a couple hours interview. That was another fascinating one.
Nice.
Paddy, like I said, I interviewed an NYPD cop, an ex NYPD cop.
That's cool.
Who was talking about fireworks. Like fireworks were a big thing. You probably know this.
Big time.
Yeah, and he was like, he has some fascinating stories. He's written like this. A guy's got Vic Ferrari. He's written like 6 books.
Oh wow!
All like really really good books. There he is, the main
Hey
man.
Eric,
Mr.
how are you, man?
Foss.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
Yes,
I'm doing all right. How are you guys? Just been
Well,
working. So,
really
hey,
good, mate. Thank you.
yeah, I know Charlie Stango. Charlie Stango, he's cool. He's cool. Man, he sucks. He can't pick his nose.
well, I have a challenge with his case, right? So he was a captain, or I think it got broken down, but
Yeah, the
he wa-
Cavalier or
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah, the Cavalcante, serious guy. I mean, he's obviously older physically, but a
Yeah,
serious guy in terms of like he'll get it done. Has a son, kind of had some issues, but had people around him. It was weird. He was like a captain without a crew, but knew pretty much everybody. Right? He was able to have access to the administration, which nobody does with the Cavalcantes. The Sicilians running now, very hard to get to. So according to Giovanni Rocco, who I'm friends with, who I love, ex Fed, great guy. Um, he says Charlie was gonna. He want Giovanni to get some bikers, pay them 50 grand to do it, and I don't see that. One, he had his own guys. Number two, they would have did it for free. And number three, Charlie's a little on the cheap side, as I heard. So I don't know, Eric. Where do you land on that? I don't know if you know familiar with the book. It's Giovanni's Ring,
well,
and that story.
really, like like with the books and stuff like that. Like I just go off like personally what
Yeah,
I mean, just by meeting people and stuff. Because I've been in the
yeah,
streets. I've been in the
yeah,
streets my whole life, and so you're saying like he tried to get like some bikers to do a job for him.
yeah. So
That
so what
don't make,
hap- so what happened was there. Okay, so there's this guy Louis the dog, and Louis the dog was an associate for a while. So when John Riggy got out, I don't know if you knew who he was. When John Riggy got out, he was older. They jammed him up. He was supposed to get out in like early 2000s, and they jammed him up till he got out like 2012, I think it was. By that point, he's older. They just drove him around like he was just more like an emissary. So his son, who I knew, because my cousin married his daughter, he had a son, Manny Riggy, who was friend with Louis the dog. Allegedly, Manny got his father to make Louis the dog in a ceremony that the elder Riggy was kind of older. The younger Riggy was like coordinated it because he wanted to help his guy out to make his guy, right? So allegedly they made Louis the dog. When Riggy Senior passed and Junior, not Junior, there's a John Junior Riggy, but when Manny Junior passed, Louis Dog was allegedly made but not recognized. So Charlie Stango had a hard on for him and wanted to kill him. Supposedly went to the administration, got the green light. When he got the green light, he had Giovanni, who was an undercover cop, who was his associate for about a year or two, said, "Do me a favor, bikers, make it happen," and offered him 50. And I love Giovanni. I'm talking like he's my guy. I can't wrap my head around that. I just can't. Street life. You know more in your pinky about street life than I
listen,
do in my whole
listen,
world. So what do you think?
listen,
Yeah,
man. Okay. So this would have had to happen after me and Charlie were together. So that Charlie had to come home probably after 2014 or something
yeah, that's
from the.
about right. Yeah,
Okay, so here's what I'll say to that. Just the 50 grand, man. Listen, no,
yeah,
no, because look, I'm from Baltimore.
yeah,
They're close by me, right? And
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Something like that. Now, obviously, I'm not involved in nothing like that, but
yeah.
I mean, you can get somebody wiped for the price of an iPhone. I mean, it's just the truth. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's just the
yeah,
truth. And then also what people don't understand, like I hear all that stuff, with the people paying for this hit, paying for that hit.
yeah.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't
Doesn't
happen.
happen. Yeah.
What people got to realize is when people do these things like the mob, gangs, anything like that, it's a structure. It's a
Yes.
structure. So, in other words, that's how people make their bones. So,
Correct.
you're not going to go outside, and plus, it involving a bunch of people that wind up telling and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, and there's too many, like how you're saying bikers. Like, there's too many where we're from. There's too many
Variable.
other type of people who, what I'm saying. Like I said,
Yeah.
for a real cheap price, and yeah, so that don't make sense. But like, I also is his son, because there was a kid when I went back. I went back to prison for 3.5 years
Yeah.
for stupid shit, saying the word girl. But
Yeah.
this was at a low, at Allenwood Low. I was there for like a month before I got thrown out. But on the unit next to me, there was a kid named Stango. He was really big and fat. I don't know if he was related to Charlie though, but he
Was his
was
name Jim? I think his name is Jimmy. I think.
a big fat kid. He's younger than me. I'm 48, so he's probably about 5 years younger than me. Big fat sloppy kid. I never even got a chance to talk to him because I wasn't even there that long. But I remember he was like in the drug program unit and stuff like that. So
I knew his son. I never met his son, but I knew of his son, and I know he had some like drug challenges, and I knew he would never like get made. Never. He's like probably like, connected obviously, but never get it. He'll never get a stripe, especially not the Sicilian there.
see,
That,
another thing too, like that like I see on YouTube and like especially mob too, people get a lot of stuff misconstrued. And I'll say this: ever
yeah,
since the olden days, now back in the days in the '80s, '70s, and stuff, yeah, you had the unions,
yeah,
and all that kind of corruption and everything, and bookmaking and loan sharking. But I'll say this, man: since the late '90s, um, if you're not actually somehow involved in drugs, you're not
yep,
getting no money,
correct.
because all that shit's it's gone. I mean,
Yep,
how can you look? Go ahead and loan somebody 20 grand. See if they pay
yep,
you. You know what I mean?
exactly.
All they're going to
Then
do is
what?
say, hey, we'll call the police or shoot you, or you know what I mean.
Yep,
So all that's went out the window. And like a lot of times, like I'll hear these people and they're like putting it down, and I'm like, and look, I'm not involved in that stuff anymore, but
yeah,
I was involved in yeah, I would say mid-level drugs. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Bricks and stuff like that.
yeah,
Few 100,000 here and there. Okay, so here's what I'll say to that. Like they sit here and they put like drug dealers down and stuff, which is okay, fine and dandy, but like they don't even recognize like the crimes that they're involved in. Like
yep,
they just like sweep it under the rug. Like a lot of these people, like if you look at what they've done, they've hurt women.
yep,
Um, a lot of them have got a lot of sex offenses. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And if you want to even go back to the days of like Paul Castellano, um, when that guy DB or whatever, when he was the porn guy, and he was
Yeah,
like
they could
he was
pedophile
like their
porn.
top he was like their top earner. Now
Yeah,
anybody with common sense, and especially around our age,
yep,
okay, we all remember the VH1 tapes and all that kind of stuff. Okay,
yep,
so all that was normal. Like
yeah,
you could rent porn at Blockbuster, anything like that.
correct.
Now, so what were they making the real money off of? What kind of porn?
Yeah.
I mean, that just
Oh
is
no,
what
they
it
had they
is.
had allegedly had like sexual assault videos. They
Yes,
had
that's what I'm saying.
child predator videos. They even had like snuff films back in the day that were
Right.
big
Well,
money.
yeah, then
Big money.
that's what the people would pay for. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's where now I'm not saying they were actually doing it, but that's not victimless. You know what I
Well,
mean?
they did bankroll. This goes back to Sunny Francis. They did bankroll Deep Throat, but that kind of preceded
Right.
EB. So yeah, I agree. Well, let me ask you a question. I'll keep going because I have an important question to ask you when you're done.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, have you ever seen my show by chance? A pleasure meeting. You. Have you ever seen my show by chance?
I know. No, I haven't. I
Okay.
seen your interview with Rob, but for
Okay.
some reason I didn't get no notifications, and I think I might have subscribed actually.
All right.
But I haven't
Sweet.
had.
Sweet. And check out like some of my old stuff. But so I'm like a regular, like kind of business guy. Grew up in Jersey. I grew up around a lot of these people. Um, my family's like from Italy, so like I met like a lot of serious people, all socially, not with business. And I think the biggest mistake the mob made, and I'd love to get your opinion as a guy who was in that world. Um, when the '80s, when the Coke started, the Coke and crack revolution came, that the cartels came in and the Italian mafia didn't get involved with it. They stepped aside, or not in a meaningful way. If you really think about it, and I can tell you know your stuff, the heroin pipeline for the 26 cities was probably active till at least the mid '80s, right? I mean, we
I'm
probably.
very just not to cut you off. I'm pretty close with old man Tony Ayala.
Oh, okay,
Pizza
so
Connect.
then you're going to like at least mid '80s, right?
Right.
Where the heroin pipeline, whether it be from Marseille, whether it be from Turkey, Sicily, the American pipeline, American Cosa Nostra had at least a pretty good hand in it on the
Yeah.
minimum mid '80s, right? Now, if as a real organization went to the cartels, especially the Colombians, Medellin or Cali, and said, "Listen, we have this pipeline, sell it to us, we got you," it would have been a different Cosa Nostra to this day. They just like the Colombians. I don't think trusted the Italians. The feds had too much of a stranglehold on the Italians. There were too many informants, and I think, believe it or not, that
Uh,
lack of
hey,
going deep into
not to
drugs.
cut you off. Not to
Yeah, go
cut you
ahead,
off.
go
But
ahead, go ahead.
I don't want to forget this point. And you
Please,
just made
please.
you just made a point that I was going to say. It comes down to trusting them. And
Yeah,
what I mean by that, look, a lot of them on the low
yeah,
are bad drug addicts.
yeah. All right, 100%.
And look, a lot of times what they do, they don't have the money.
Yeah,
So they like if you ever notice, even like with the Roy DeMeos and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff, you ever notice, yeah, he killed four scumbag Colombians.
yeah.
No, they robbed them. They
Correct,
robbed them. That's
correct.
what they were famous for. That's what they
Yep,
would do. They would
yep,
rob these people and they
yep.
would kill them. And that's why you always want to avoid it. Like even the guy Dom Sakali, he was on
Yeah,
his show and he was telling a story about the guy Hippie, how the guy
yeah,
Hippie's such a scumbag and all this kind of stuff.
yeah.
But if you pay attention to his story, he went to the guy Hippie to get a brick,
Mm,
and Dom didn't have the money. Dom robbed him.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
he robbed him and made him out to be the scumbag. But so my point is, a lot of times, like with them, they're real sneaky. They're sneaky people.
Let,
Now there's a
let
lot
me
of good
let me
guys in it.
Eric, and Eric, by the way, you're invited on my show anytime because you're stimulating thought. I don't want to sidetrack, but I want to touch on the Roy DeMeo thing. When Chris Rosenberg, I believe they were Cubans that were connected to the Colombians that they killed. I think it was like one or two guys. When he came back up to New York and they were looking for his head and be like, we're sending a hit squad to New York and we're going to kill everybody until we find who did it. Castellano forced Nino Gaggi to go to Roy DeMeo to say, listen, Rosenberg's got to go. Now, Rosenberg is an associate, whether he's a Jewish kid or not, doesn't matter. He's an associate of your organization. Why be on record? Why be connected? Do you feel they should have threw him under the bus like that? Or
No,
should they have at least said, you know what? I don't give a fuck who you are. He's our guy. And I'm not saying the Italian mob was strong soldier wise, but it was still the mob in the 80s. I
look,
felt like they should have stood up for him. What do you think?
listen, 100%. And here's my thing. This is why I never like I don't like. I would never ever be a part of that. And I look at it as stupid. And
Yeah,
here's why. Because there's people that you grow up in the sandbox with and you've been through hell with. And
correct.
now some old jerk off tells you to shoot me in the head after all we've been through and you do it.
Yep,
I mean, look, it's too much treachery in that. That's what, look, one reason why I like John
yeah,
Gotti Sr. is this. Because, okay, obviously he's in the mob, Costa Nostra or whatever. But at the end of the day, he didn't let certain things like he didn't let anybody just come get his friends, with the
correct,
Castellano. So he
correct.
didn't do that. You know what I mean? And there's certain things like it's just no real loyalties. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's no real loyalties. That's why a lot of times when you get on here, and another thing I hate. Okay, when you get on this YouTube stuff, and I've seen this. Now, look, I'm going to put this out here right now.
please.
I have never in my life cooperated, none of that kind of stuff. Never would. Okay,
Yeah,
even to this day, no. But at the end of the day, I hear a lot of guys on here like they just like crush these dudes, calling them rats, calling them this, calling them that. And what they're not understanding is they've never been in the positions that these guys have been in.
yep,
Okay. I mean, it's one thing, man. It's one thing if a person's been in something, but they're not understanding the part of it, man. These people are trying to take your life away. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that.
yep,
And
yep.
you got guys who've never been through nothing sitting here. We'll call him a rat. You know what I mean? Now this guy who you're talking to, and oh, another thing. they'll
Yeah.
sit here and they'll downplay guys. They'll be like, "Oh, he's nobody. He only killed 2 people."
Yeah.
Do you realize do they
Yep.
realize
Yep.
okay, somebody who has taken a life,
Yep.
somebody has taken another person's life, and it takes balls. I hate
Yep.
when people say, "Oh, it's nothing to do that." Bullshit.
Yep.
Anyway, so they'll sit here and they'll talk about that. But here's my thing. Look, you anybody who's ever done something like that or been involved in something like that, they are capable. I don't care how long they've
Yeah.
been out of something. I
Yep.
don't care. It does not matter. You know what I
Yep.
mean? They've already gotten over the nightmares and the kinks of it. You know what I mean? They've already gotten over that and they've done it.
Yep.
So that's why I'm like, a lot of these guys, man, they just don't know what they're saying. Then they'll put down people like, and it's so hypocritical. They'll put down a guy like say Rob or say you or Jeff or somebody. If you go ahead and interview somebody like Gene Barella or
Yep.
Sandy DeBoer or somebody like that, they'll be like, "Oh, he's no good. He interviews rats." Like, what do they think that they're interviewing? And here's the thing: they're rats. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And at the end of the day, they move the goalpost for so much,
Well,
man.
so hold on. You bring a good point, right? And this is ironic that you're saying what you're saying, and it's a good thing. I have zero, and I don't know about Rob. I'm probably comes from the same thing as me in terms of never been in the street or never committed any serious crime.
Right, that's the best people
Um, so
to actually talk about it.
I have no. There's two things. One, I have no moral authority to call anybody anything. Right? Who the fuck am I? Right? Number two, I'm not the arbiter of this. I'm not like the guy who determines. Now, a guy like you can say, hey, you know what? I did my time. I stood up. And the fact that you're not, I'll tell you a quick story, Eric. So
Right,
I'm friends with Karen Gravano, right? I'm
right,
also very close. I'm closer with Ramona Rizzo, who is, Lefty Gun's granddaughter, and she's a personal friend. And we're in the city one time, and we ran into somebody who was pretty important in that life. And they talked to both of them, Karen and Ramona, to the point I was like this. I was like, ah, shit. Like, I'm with Karen. Like, Ramona's like, I don't know, like what's going to go on. And this guy, I'm not saying he was a made guy, but he was a serious associate in that life. And he was talking to Karen. He was talking to Ramona, right? You'd be surprised who they still talk.
listen,
So,
hey,
so
look,
they can talk to them, but I
I,
can't.
I'm not
Yeah,
shocked at all what you're saying because I will
yeah,
tell you this for a fact, and I hate Sammy the Boy. I just don't like the guy,
yeah, yeah.
but I will tell you this for a fact.
Yeah.
I know of made guys
Oh shit.
who were in contact with Sammy the Bull Gravano.
Uh,
Okay, I know that for a fact. I won't ever put these people out there,
yeah,
but I'm telling you, I know for a fact. But yeah, you can ask Rob what I had said. Rob had actually interviewed me for his
yeah. I gotta
show.
watch it.
Okay.
I gotta watch
And
it.
he asked me one time. He said, yeah, I don't know if you remember this, Rob. You're like, well, what do you think of us guys who've never been in nothing or whatever? And
Yeah.
we're commenting on this kind of stuff. And Rob, do you remember what I called you? I said, you know what I call you guys? A breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because I would rather see that because there's no bias.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
bias. There's no you know what I mean? Like
Agenda. Yeah. Yeah.
even I have bias. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm going to be biased towards certain things, but like I've even gotten into certain things like like okay, like commenting, on like the the John Gotti Jr. situations and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff and all. And see, like I try to do everything from certain perspectives,
Yeah.
but I did fall into something, man. I fell into like because there was some trolls that came over on my channel and pissed me off. So I said some things.
They're starting already.
So yeah,
Welcome.
so look, I said some things and stuff. But then when I sat down and I thought about it, I said, from all perspectives, I'm not going to sit here and like whatever like his situation is and stuff. I'm not going to sit here and he has done time. He was a street person. He has
Yeah.
changed his life. He's a smart person. He's going along with his life and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and hate on that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I told both perspectives, and the perspective I told was about his family. He had to look his mother in the face after everything
Yep.
because people don't understand that. I went in depth about that, and then
Yeah.
I also told the prison and the street perspectives of whatever he did is considered, and that don't mean that I actually believe in all that in politics either, because I wouldn't want to see nothing happen to the guy or something like that. Because personally, I don't, who cares?
Well,
But
let me ask you, Eric. Even as a street guy, I'm assuming you seem like a nice guy. You're probably a family guy. He put his family first, his real family. I can't knock a guy for that.
well,
You
and
know?
and honestly, here's what happened.
Yeah.
You want to know the truth of what happened? and this is the truth. Nobody's going to tell. But look, he, here's what happened with him. He was going through hell. Okay, they were going to look, man. They were trying to chain that man to the bed or whatever. So his mind is in a million different places.
Yep.
So he did sit down with them and he told them some things or whatever. And he may not have wanted to go all the way through with what he wanted to go through with or whatever. And he thought he could outslick the government in that way, but he found out he couldn't. So there was never no deal that was feasible to him. So
Correct.
it's like
Correct.
they might have said, hey, for this bullshit or something, we'll offer you 25-year cap. And he probably said, well, fuck it. And went to trial. You know what I mean? And he made out, and thank God that he made out because it could have went the opposite way, and he could have been sitting in prison for life.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing with that people don't understand. At the end of the day, that is that man's business, and that's so old. But what happened was when the Joey Merlino thing came. As soon as Joey
Yeah.
Merlino said it, and it's like, you know, people. And look, I like Joey Merlino. I like him more so because he's more of like kind of like me. He's more of a street guy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like John Gotti Sr. is like more of a street. I consider them more street people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the thing with Joey, he's hard bent on everything he says. Like, oh yeah, this he calls actors rats and stuff like that. But look, at the end of the day, though, look, he sat down with Vlad TV. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Everything like that. So everybody jumps on this crazy train. And
Yep.
another thing that these people are doing is this. I don't like this. These guys, like you take a John Gotti Jr., you take a Joey Merlino. These guys were, the feds were up their ass, man,
Yep.
and they couldn't convict them of a lot of things. So everybody's looking like these people that they got away with all this stuff. Look, man, just play the facts. They weren't convicted. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So they may have been innocent, and the feds do target certain people.
They
You know
do.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
like with the whole thing, everybody just jumps these crazy sides. If Joey Merlino says this is this is that. You know what I mean? And touching on him, and also John Gotti Jr., here's what these people are saying. Look, none of us have been in a mob. None of us know their actual rules. And
Yep.
truthfully, it seems like there is no rules. But
Correct.
here's what people are doing. They're saying, oh, there's no way that they could just walk away and not be in it and nothing happened to them. Well, how do you know that? And who makes that rule? Because look, you got guys who told on everybody that walk away and start shows and stuff. Nothing happens to them. So you're telling me a
Yeah.
guy who just says, "Hey, man, this is just crap. I'm gone." You know,
Yeah.
it's just always people nitpicking and stuff. And like with the
So
Joey
wait,
thing,
real quick, Eric, you're from Baltimore, correct?
yeah.
I thought either you said that or I saw that below. There was a Gambino crew down there. Did that make it to your era, or were they done by the time you were on the street?
If it was something like that, that would have probably been through. If you're talking about, if they were probably affiliated with the Baltimore block, where all the strip clubs and stuff.
Got it.
Have you ever heard of that?
I think so. And then there is a kind of a little Italy in Baltimore
Yes, yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Literally Sabatino's, Chiparelli's. Yeah, I know everybody
Yeah.
down there.
Got it.
Well, anyway,
Sorry.
I'll say this,
Yeah.
sort of, possibly, but it can't. Okay, here's another thing that I've never heard nobody say, but I heard this from an old head.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say who I heard it from. It's nothing bad. Jimmy Coonan.
Okay.
Okay, Jimmy Coonan told me one time. He said that like because we were talking about that how like the mobs at Midwest and these play and you know what I mean. And I was like, man, they like kind of skipped over us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, he told me. He said he would, and I don't know how true this is, but Jimmy's always been right. He told me. He said it's kind of like an old time back in the day or whatever, like an unwritten rule because we're so close to DC and like they didn't, like kind of like an unwritten rule back then, like I guess with the government, whoever, that they didn't go near like DC, Baltimore, places like that were too close.
I actually heard that, and although there was like one or two like Italian knockaround guys that way, Cosa
Yeah.
Nostra had very little presence in DC, if none. I actually heard that actually too.
Right. And down here, and also down here, like, see, where I'm from, it's drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, and especially when I grew up in Baltimore, it wasn't no other like Hispanic, nothing like that. It was just black and white. It's just black and white. So basically, controlling everything was the black. It was black, like with the drug trades and stuff like that. You had some white people in it and stuff like that, But like none of that shit would it wouldn't fly down here, man. Like nah, ain't no old man like gonna come tell us.
Where was the drugs from? Was it because what didn't Kali have at the time up until like the 90s? Didn't Kali have like the Northeast or no? Or is that Escobar?
I'm not sure. I know this. I know this. This was the. I don't know if you see that on my.
Oh, yeah,
Can
I
you see
see.
that tattoo?
Yeah.
All right, that was. I think that they're Sinaloa, but that was
Oh
around
yeah. Oh, so okay. So the Mexicans. When the Mexicans kind of 90s, right? 90s 2000s when the Mexicans kind of took over, right? Pretty much.
right there. Yeah, yeah. Because right there, that tattoo. I'm not a Scorpio, but that tattoo, what used to come on my bricks, and that was '98. Okay, and
Oh shit.
honestly, the crazy part about that was I had just came back from Florida. I was in Boca Raton, Florida for a couple years. I was on the run.
Yeah.
So I came back and I beat my case. Now, I had a friend that I was in juvenile I was locked up in juvenile with, right? This kid, he was wild. He was my age. He was from New York.
Yeah.
So he was in some stolen car shit or whatever back when we were kids. So they were going to jump him down when we were in Charles Hickey School. And I had his back, because I was cool with him. They were going to jump him because he's from New York or whatever. So me and him became real good friends. Now this kid is wild. Okay. Now he's not a kid anymore. But anyway, his father is somebody pretty heavy up in that life up there in New York.
Okay.
Well, me and him had always kept contact over the years. So he hit me up in '98 and he's like, "Hey, Eric, man, I got something you might be interested in." So I went up there with her and he had them. And he had them for a good price.
Oh
And
shit.
he had so much of them or whatever. But anyway, long story short, it caused a bunch of shit because, like I said, he was a nutcase. He actually took off some Dominicans in a hard way. You know what I
Oh,
mean? In a real hard way. And that's
I,
how he had all them. And then, like his father and shit had to get involved and all. Now I think he,
I,
yeah. So it was like I've been involved with like people up in New York, kind of like my whole
yeah.
life. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
Because it's pretty close. Like everything's always been good. Like I've always had good dealings with the guys up there and
Well,
everything like.
let me ask you, as this ex street guy, where do the Italians rank? Trusted, not trusted? Like like where do they rank versus maybe the Dominicans, the black guys? Like where do they rank in dealings, in your opinion?
Well, all right. Well, when you get to all right. Well, let me say it like this: when you get to a certain level
Yeah.
in like coke,
Yeah.
all right. I would fall, and you would fall, Rob would fall right beneath the Mexicans.
Got it.
What that means is this.
Oh, so
I,
you were like upper mid level distro.
well, look. Okay, let me just say it like this. Like, okay, so what I mean by that is this: they're going to us being white.
Yeah.
We're going to get the better deal. The stuff's going to be untouched. Everything like that. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, now when you get into the street levels, you know, okay, here's pretty much what the rule was. Now I don't know, it's kind of wide open now, but the rule was this before: if they dealt with a black dude, he had to be over 40 years old, and he had to be, you know what I mean? He had to be,
Yeah.
had to have a resume. Well, so that's what I mean. So it will go from there to there, and then like on the street levels, like when it gets real low, the white guys get the worst deals and stuff. But like
Yeah.
Italians and stuff like that, really down here, they're just like normal people like fit in. They're not even really, considered like Italian. They just might be Italian. Like my whole neighborhood used to be Italian when I was growing up. Like
Got it.
my
Got
kids
it.
are Italian. But
Yeah.
now trusting them mob guys or something like no, hell no. Uh, uh, uh.
Rob, you got a good soundbite right there. Make sure you clip that part.
Never
But
trust a mob guy.
like they're okay, bikers now. I've had some dealings with some bikers too, like up there in Philly and stuff, like past Philly, like Bucks County.
Yeah.
Now I used to mess around with them guys, and I remember one time I thought that they got me. I walked into one of their little clubhouse type deals or whatever to meet the
Oh
dude.
shit.
Bro, when I walked in, it was fucking nothing but plastic all over the floor. And I looked
Aye.
down, I was like, oh shit. But the dude was just laughing. He's like, come on, man. But you never know because them
Yeah.
guys were crazy. They would smoke meth
Yeah.
and do all kind of crazy shit. Like it's just I've had in my time dealing with people, man, I've learned, like, especially in the streets, just judge people for people and their own character
Yeah.
and stuff. And you know, you okay. First off, like, if you ever been around, and I don't just mean somebody who's killed somebody, I
Yeah.
mean an actual killer. They got a look to them. Okay, like that. It's hard to describe, but like they got a blank look in their eyes. And anytime you ever run across somebody like that, just go the other way. You
They're
know what I mean?
dead. They're
Yes,
physically they're dead inside.
yes, yes. And I've met a few people like that, and like
Yeah.
I, when I've talked to, I'll tell you who's like that. I don't want to say his name in case he's trying to get out on appeal or whatever. But karate's co-defendant.
Oh,
Nah, don't say his name. Don't say
yeah,
his
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hey, you
yeah,
know what I'm talking about, right? The
yeah,
fat guy.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, he's got that look.
I,
He's
I,
cool. Like I
yeah,
chill with him inside all day long, but like he's got that look. So he's more of a type, I guess, if you piss him off. But like, if you ever like look, I've never met like Tommy Karate, but if you ever look in that books, right? Look at the guy. You know what I
yeah.
mean? First off, that guy he was real bad on coke. He was a bad
Yep,
coke,
I
bad
heard
coke.
that. Yeah.
You could just tell. You know what I mean? All pale. He's, you know what I mean?
And he killed his girlfriend for doing the same. No,
Well, they killed
no,
that
not the
girl.
girlfriend. The girlfriend's friend,
Phyllis
right?
Birdie. Phyllis
Yeah,
Birdie. Yeah, like what was that? Was stupid, man. Like,
yeah,
and like I don't believe in stuff like that, man. I
yeah,
look. Here's my thing, and I don't believe in the women, children, innocent people, stuff like that. I believe you when you cross certain lines, man. It's just like you got no morals. I don't trust a person like that. Like
yep.
like I don't trust. Look, I don't trust the person who could just kill people and just not worry about it. The
Go
reason
back to their
why
day.
is
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're the worst kind. They only care about themselves. They
yep,
know that they'll just take somebody out, and a lot of times they're the ones who cooperate.
yep,
They will cooperate because they don't care. You got
yep.
to look at people's like morals and characters. Like I would like to ask Joey Merlino this question.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's one thing, and I don't want to get
Oh
because I like
shit.
the guy, but I'd like to ask him this question: being me and him, street to street, neither person ever cooperated, nothing. I would like to ask him if he's seen somebody grab a small child and throw them in a van and take off. What would he do?
Mm. I think you go after him. I think you would
No, no,
know.
no, no. Of course, he go after him. What would he call anybody? But let me tell you
Interesting.
what I would do. Let me tell you what
Yeah,
I would do. I would call the police and I would
yeah,
go after him. You know
yeah,
why? Because I don't care if somebody would say whatever. Oh, I don't care if somebody say I'm a rat. I would
yeah,
rather have them say that than
yeah,
you look me in the face and say, "Hey, Eric, why didn't you save my child?"
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
you,
Good
you
point.
understand? Like there's
Good
certain
point.
things like there's certain things like the way Joey does it is like there's certain things, man. Like if you do of like a terrorist plot to blow up
Yep,
a shopping mall or something like that, you're just going like let that no. That's I don't consider that being like a rat. You know what I mean?
yep,
Like that's involving too much stuff. But
yep,
and at the same time, I remember I had that conversation about the kid thing with somebody, and they were acting so tough and bad. Oh no, I wouldn't do it. And then I was like, this. I remembered something about him. I was like, hey, I remember when your car got stolen, and you called and reported it stolen.
yeah,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
well, I'm not going to pay. Oh, I said, well, and
Well,
hey,
hold on, Eric, you touched on something because one of the big, and I'm not doing as much mob stuff as I used to, and I'm not doing as many informants as I used to, but I got a lot of heat a lot of heat by interviewing informants, threats, the whole bit, right? And I said the same exact thing you said is, in my opinion, I want a PEDO rat to rat out a PEDO ring, right? I
yeah,
want a terrorist to rat out their brothers to prevent deaths to American lives.
yeah.
I want a mafioso to flip to save, whether it be a few lives, the shop owner who's getting shaken down, or the guy, has a bad gambling habit who's getting bastardized. I want that. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe
Well,
I'm
see,
dumb. I don't
okay,
know.
okay.
Like,
I was
but,
with you. I was with you
yeah.
all the way up until the,
No,
you
I
know,
get it. All right. How about this?
so
Let's Eric. Let's agree. Let's agree that the
No, but
last
listen, we're
part.
different people. We're
Well,
different
no,
people.
but also let's agree. Let's agree though that the last part we can agree those guys got themselves into that situation. Meaning,
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So we'll agree
yes,
on that. Got
yeah. Because here's the thing: a lot of things like that is sometimes people look like they were innocent, but they really weren't innocent.
it. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I've had it done, bro. Look, just last year at this time, what went on was me and my girlfriend that I'm with now. Anyway, I was helping somebody out. Okay, I was helping somebody out because they were down on their luck, they were doing bad or whatever.
yeah,
And what I did was I made a mistake, and when I had collected a bunch of money to pay my workers and stuff like that on some remodel and stuff and everything, because I
yeah.
try to pay them, instead of
Sure.
a third at a time. But anyway, so I collected a bunch of cash, and I put it in this house of this person I was helping for 10 minutes
Yeah,
because I didn't want to leave it in the car.
yeah.
And this person actually stole the money. It was 60. It was
Gee.
6 it was 60 grand. Okay.
Damn.
Now look, I wind up catching up with this person and somebody else. They were with somebody else. I catch up with them at a hotel. I see him with a bag and I see it all bulked out. I know that's my money. So I snatch it just to get up out of there, right? Not trying
Yeah.
to fight or nothing like that. Well, I turn around and I see them beating up my girlfriend that I'm with now.
What?
Yeah. Listen. So this is what I'm talking about. How people switch. So how people switch narratives and act innocent. So I turn around and come, break up the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I get the situation broke up, me and my girl leave or whatever. So I get the money back and it's like 53. So it's like seven short. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
7 grand. Go ahead, take it. Who cares? Whatever. These people actually pressed charges on me and pressed charges on my girlfriend. Listen, pressed charges on my girlfriend. Never been in trouble in her life. Never been in trouble in her life. She's 41 years old. She's a breast cancer survivor. She's
Jesus
5'2",
Christ.
120 pounds. Never been in
Jeez.
trouble in her life. They they pressed charges on us, and the weird thing was they got her first. So she gives me a call. She went somewhere. She gives me a call. She's like, babe, I'm going to jail. I said, what for? She's like, robbery. I said, what? So obviously they lock her up or whatever. So I go ahead, I'm on the run basically. So I have to have somebody meet a lawyer in a parking lot at night because they gave her no bail. So I paid her to get out, whatever. So they get me a couple weeks later and they lock me up. Now they gave me no bond. They wouldn't let me have a bond.
Why?
No
Because
matter,
you were a felon?
man, no, I don't know. They just don't do that for me. So I had to sit there. I had to sit there 4 months. I had to sit there 4 months till I beat the case, which the case was going to be beat. Obviously, we got the best lawyers in Maryland and everything. And plus, it's like this was such bullshit. But my point is the way that this person who did this to me turned around. And if you heard the stuff that they were saying, it was like, and the police didn't even make sense because at the end of the day, this person actually said to the police in the police report, Eric robbed me for 50,000 cash at the hotel, and this isn't like a nice hotel or nothing. Like,
Yeah.
first off, what are you doing with 50 grand cash? Where'd you get it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
You
they switched the narrative
have to
over on
earn that,
people
which is something.
to make themselves look so innocent. You know what I mean? And that's that probably happens a lot of times to these shopkeepers and stuff like that. They'll borrow money, whatever, and then they'll make you out to be crazy if if they. A lot of times it comes down to people rob and steal. People steal from people. Like street people we get stolen from the most out of anybody. It's just a fact. It's just a cold hard fact. No matter what we do, no matter what we do, wherever we put money at, stuff like that, if we get an abundance of cash, somebody always steals it. It is what it is. Is he still there, Rob?
He is
Yeah, I'm
still
having
there.
some problems
Oh,
here. Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can got you, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rob,
listen,
I'm having a hard time here. I'm gonna cut out because it's like Eric. I want to Rob, please connect me with Eric. I
Yes, of
want to I
course.
want
Yeah,
to
no
get the guy. I
problem.
would love to have you on my show, Eric, anytime. And also
all right, yeah,
Rob,
definitely.
I'm waiting to have you on as well. Let me get out of here because it's not really working. Gentlemen, have a good night. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
All right, yeah, have
Thank
a good
you.
night.
Thanks for coming
Thanks,
on,
guys.
Tom. 2 hours and 40 minutes. Appreciate
So
that.
hey, what's up, mate? I didn't even get a notification that you were doing any lives.
I don't think you've subscribed to me, have you, Eric?
Hey, come on now, stop. You know that. Hey, listen, while I talk about people stealing from people, you want to hear a funny story? Look, this is going to seem impossible. I got a $6,000 carton of Newports.
A what?
carton of cigarettes, $6,000 carton of Newports. I
Right.
wound up smoking them. Nah, but what happened was this. What happened was this. Like I'm telling you about. I did okay in some Bitcoin, right, from a long time ago, and it built up or whatever. Okay. So what happened was I would pull money out and stuff for doing whatever. So I'm thinking I got a bunch of money. I'm sitting. I don't want to put the money back in because when it would change up and down, like you might lose money by throwing it back in. So if I pulled out, say it wouldn't have to be a lot of cash. Like say I pull out 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. I might go to somebody's house and be like, here, hold this, and it might be however much money. 18,000 might be the most I ever put at their houses, whatever. But it would be a bunch of different people, so I'd let them take some money, whatever, pay some bills. Who cares? Well, what happened was I started losing all kind of money in the Bitcoin shit. Remember when that shit fell? So I'm running around out on the streets acting like I still got all this money sitting in these houses and stuff. So I'm spending a bunch of money. And reality hit me one day because I hit somebody up and I said, hey, sell me $1,000 real quick because I was doing something. And they were like, oh, Zelle is down or so. I was like, oh man, this don't seem right. So anyway, everybody I hit up that was holding money for me had like some type of excuse. Well, this one person, God bless their heart, I couldn't even be mad at them. I only had $6 grand at their house, and I had actually lent them $2 grand, so it was $8 grand to begin with. But anyway, they sat there, they spent all of it, right? So they actually came to my house. They didn't duck me out, and they didn't switch the narrative like it was my fault. They came to my house and they said, Eric, here's all I got. Here, take this carton of cigarettes. And I was just like, fuck it, I smoke anyway. But everything in life, man, especially when you're dealing in the streets and then even in this kind of stuff, things fuck up. You know what I mean? And I look at things now like it's all about intentions. It's all about intentions. Like I'm the type of person, man. Like we could be doing some type of business together, and you might screw up $20,000, something like that. Whether it's legit business, unlegit business, or whatever. But if you didn't have bad intentions, like I look at that as like part of part of it. But now if somebody just basically said "fuck me" and came and took $300 from me or something like that, I might want to do something to them. You understand what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I look at things like through intentions, but like I see a lot of these guys that come on these shows and talk about some of these people. I know most of these people. Like I know most of them. Like yeah, I know most of them. What's been going on though? What's been going on? How long you been doing lives?
This is my third. So I did one. I did one with the cop, Vic Ferrari, ex NYPD, uh, two two Fridays ago,
Oh, okay.
and then I did one with um, Pasquale Malizia. You have to forgive me. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not
Oh,
usually
okay.
anywhere near
Oh
up
yeah,
this late.
I wanted to.
That's fun.
I missed the one with the cop. I wanted to ask him if he knew Ed Norris. Ed Norris was the police chief up in New York back in the day, and then he became our police chief and down here. He actually went to federal prison. He actually went to federal prison because our mayor
Yeah.
didn't like him or some shit. But
Well,
yeah, he
he's
was.
coming on. Vic's coming on again. Just arranging a day, so I'll let you know. Um,
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you on,
That-
are you on WhatsApp, by the way? I did get your message. You on
yeah, I
WhatsApp?
could download it. I'm not on it, but I could download it. I could download
Because
it.
if
Yeah,
I
because
send you, if I ring you or I text you, I have to pay quite a lot of money, and so do you. So I don't want to put that
are you
burden on
serious?
us.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
if I text your cell or I ring your cell, I actually looked it up, and it's not a small amount of money either. So if I rang you for 10 minutes, and both of us will get charged.
Yeah, because you said something about me and my girl or something like that coming on.
That's it. Yeah, cool. That'd be great. I was going to ask you if
Yeah,
you were willing to come on for a live and bring her on.
yeah, she'll come on too. Yeah, she likes all that stuff. But she freaks out. She's one of the ones that freak out about like the comments. I remember I went on a show or whatever, and I was talking about an incident. I was just talking about how she got arrested and all and somebody said, "Oh, this guy's full of bollocks," bullshit or whatever. I guess because they said the amount of money or whatever. Man, she freaked the hell out. She's like, she goes on there putting the paperwork on there and everything. I'm like, you don't got to do that. You know what I mean? I was like, just who cares? But a lot of people just, a lot of people think it's all bullshit and all. But yeah, but I've seen everything's like calmed down once they did the everybody came out after they did the junior interview and then this and that.
What do you think of that?
Uh, it's all right. I mean, like when I sit down and think totally about it, like, at first I was like, kind of like, oh, look at this boy. But then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, he's 60 years old, bro. And it's still in. Look, here's always going to be in him that, like, he's hearing all these people make these comments and stuff like that. And especially with his sister being involved in stuff and all. So he's probably like, he's probably, you know, my point is, like, none of these people would say it to him. You know what I mean? And that kind of could irritate someone. So he didn't get all into it or everything, but like, I mean, it was, I mean, it was it was all right. It's kind of like, I don't think that he should, I don't think that he should, I don't think that he should even pay attention to the YouTube stuff, honestly. At the point he is in his life. But, like, his situation is what it is. It's like, and people are just, it's that word. I'm telling you, it's that word. And you see what everybody does. Look how bad that rat word has carried over. Like, people will call you a rat for interviewing somebody who's been in trouble before and told. You understand what I'm saying? And,
I
and
do
that's
understand what you're saying. Do you know what's really funny? If someone called me a rat, I wouldn't take 1 ounce of offence to it.
right,
It
but
doesn't
which
bother
you're
me. But
right,
you
but
know,
what you're not, yeah. All right, it's sort of like this. If you were a, it's different for other people. If you were a champion boxer your whole life, right, and undisputed champion and everything, and then all of a sudden you lose to like a Buster Douglas type guy, or it's just anybody or whatever, and then some guy who's never thrown a punch in his life calls you a punk or says you can't fight or
yeah,
something. You understand what I'm saying?
I
It's
know what
like,
you mean.
I could. It's just the cringiness of the word and so many people using it, and it's like, okay, let me ask you, since this is good, since you've never been in that type of life or anything like that, let me ask you, what do you think of someone if I told you, hey, that guy's a rat? What do you think of him? Like, what do you think I'm saying about him?
I think that you're saying that he's cooperated, spoken to the
Anything
government.
else, like personal, like what type of character? You know what I mean? Just going, what type of person?
Well, I think I would. I don't. I think if you said that guy was, I don't know. Actually, that's an interesting one because I haven't connected the personality to the rat because bearing in mind in the UK, rat isn't the thing. It's like a
Right,
grass and a snitch and things like that, and I don't think it's as hot, if you like, is what the rat word is.
right.
It appears to be in the States, certainly in this mob tube. But I think I didn't think about the connotation with the personality. I just thought it was cut and dry. If you said, "Oh, that person's a rat," it would be somebody who's probably not in a positive way. You would think of him, but also think that he. I'm saying he could be a she, I guess, but has cooperated with the government, sat down with the government. I wouldn't say whether he's an I don't know
All
personality
right.
wise. Why?
Well,
What would you think?
okay, like when I hear it, and okay, I know what it is, and the terminology for that word is this. The reason why that word rat came about is because a real rat, like the animal, it will chew its own tail off to
You
get out of
said
its
that
mouth.
actually, didn't you? You said that when we
Yes,
spoke.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in other words, a rat is, to me, is someone who is always looking for that way out, doesn't care who they'll hurt, doesn't get, you know what I mean? They're basically a bitch. You know what I mean? They're basically a bitch. Now, to people, some people who have told or whatever and stuff like that, I guess, yeah, you could put the word rat. But at the end of the day, some of these guys aren't running around just going to tell everything. You know what I mean? They had their situations. Bro, look, you got to think, okay, me personally, it's like different. Me and my girlfriend were talking about this the other night because we were talking about like the junior situation. Okay. And I used me and him as two different examples. I was explaining to her, I was like, man, he had a hard way to go. First off, he was facing the death penalty. Me myself, I've never faced the death penalty. Okay. And here's the thing about it is you've got to look at the way people grew up. Look at his father, how his father grew up. His father grew up in dusty ass apartments, poor, in the streets. getting locked up, didn't have no family, home life, nothing like that. That was never put into him, just like it wasn't for me. You understand? Now, I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's easier for a person like that to just be like, fuck it, because prison's kind of a break. You know what I mean? Because they really, they've had a lot of adversity in their life. Now, you switch it over to a person who's grown up. Everybody's respected them. Nobody's got out of line with them. They've had their way their whole entire life. You understand? And then they go, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit different on the ways people are brought up. It's like, I call it a comfort zone. I call it a comfort zone. There's certain people, there's not many of us, don't have a comfort zone. You know what I mean? There's certain people that don't have, it's just not a comfort zone. And what I mean by that is this. Like I've been in situations where I've had nothing. I've had didn't have a dollar in my pocket, didn't have a home, didn't have certain things. But it wasn't nothing to me. But then a short time later, I got all this shit. I got all, and then I lose it. Then up and down. There's no comfort zone. You know what I mean? I can adapt any which way. And it makes no difference. But that's rare. So like with his like with his situation, that was like another thing too with that whole world, that whole mob world and stuff like that. That thing has fell apart, bro. That thing has fell apart, and like I said, like it gets romanticized so much, just like the thing that gets under my skin, like I told you, is about like how they take shots at scumbag drug dealers, stuff like that. But at the same time, they'll be like, oh, this one was wearing $2,000 suits. Well, we wear $6,000 belts. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
if that's what you're talking about, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's everybody's criminals, but their moral ground, man, isn't very high. It's just like a lot, and I feel bad for a lot of them guys who got swept into that. And another thing that I with the like the junior situation that him and I both have in common, and I've talked to you about this before, but I don't talk about it all the time. And I don't really go in depth about it, but remember I told you how I was groomed. How my father, when I met my father for that short period of time, when he escaped from prison, first thing he did was get me high, start telling me about how to break you know what I mean? How that I was groomed that way. So now imagine your father is John fucking Gotti. You know what I mean? Now you're never going to surpass that guy. You know what I mean? And that had to be tough. And another thing had to be tough too. Nobody likes to pay attention to is when for John Gotti Jr., his father is probably the strongest man he's ever met. Because when you're talking about a gangster and just a street person, John Gotti Jr., that's it. You know what I mean? You don't get above him. You know what I mean? He walked it like he talked it. So at the end of the day, his son had to watch him lose. You know what I mean? Because he lost. We're down to nothing, torn apart physically, everything like that, dying in a bed, and then they're trying to do the same thing to the him. It's a whole lot that plays into that stuff. That there's probably just too much chitter chatter with it. You know.
Wouldn't it be fascinating? Because he's towed this line now, hasn't he? Where the proffers are the kind of the FBI can make proffers out and distribute them so somebody can look bad, which I think he was referring to himself. Therefore, he's not a cooperator. But wouldn't it? And then he says a legal challenge, sends out a legal challenge to people that have called in cooperators. Wouldn't it be
Yeah, but
something?
see, Rob,
Eric,
Rob,
wouldn't it be
see,
something if he
Rob,
actually did?
Rob, Rob,
Wouldn't it be funny if he
I
actually
gotta
did
cut you off,
sue?
Rob.
Yeah, go on,
I gotta cut you off
go for it.
because of this. What we're doing here. Listen to what you just said. You said he sent out the legal.
Ah, bollocks.
There. Okay.
Oh
No,
yes, I've got you back.
that's where all the stuff comes in. He didn't he didn't do that about the legal challenge. That's his sister and all them goofballs. You know what I mean? What I was saying about it is like it's really not him coming out saying a bunch of shit. It's them idiots, and they like to, and look, they are idiots. That whole group over there is a bunch of idiots. You know what I mean? The
Do you think
leak
they
holes, all of
influence
them.
him?
They're all
You think
yeah,
they
yeah.
influence
Well,
him?
no, they don't influence him. It's just that when they speak, we get it confused like it's him speaking. You know what I mean? He probably don't even watch it. You know what I mean? It's just them. It's just them doing that.
But
But yeah,
he said, didn't he, in his interview, he said that he implied that if anyone's going to call him
yeah.
a cooperator, then he'll sue them. Just imagine, Eric, if he actually sued Sammy the Bull Gravano and Joe Molino. Wouldn't that be drama? Wouldn't that be great?
He I
I don't know
don't
whether
think
he'd win or not, but it would just be interesting, the kind of circus that would go with it.
I don't think he should do that. Nah, I don't think he's going to do that. But I think a lot of this stuff does get into that. It does get into the circus stuff, and what it is. I mean, here's the thing: the stuff is what it is. You know what I mean? Like people move the goalposts. People say this. People say that, but nobody looks at it from each person's situation and their perspectives. You know what I mean? So a lot like what could piss somebody off is like this, like when when you got these people saying this stuff about you and they've never had to, what would they do in them situations? You know what I mean? But and also the thing that I don't like I stick up for you guys who aren't involved in nothing. I believe when you guys come out, because when you guys are putting on these interviews and you're sitting here, you're asking questions and you're being fair. You're being totally fair. And people get mad at that. Why shouldn't you be able to talk about something that's public knowledge? Or talk to somebody who cooperated or something like that. Where do these people think they get the movie scripts from and their information and the books and all? What do you think? People who are actually doing this shit just come on and no, it doesn't happen like that. So I don't like that, and they're doing that because of these shows. You know what I mean? They always want to act. They don't want to ever see nobody new come around, and it's actually smarter than them because they're dumb. And who I'm referring to. I'm referring to them damn hillbillies that they have Mr. Rogers, and that. I'm telling you, it's that fat walrus is behind it. He's behind everything. He
Dude,
causes all that.
it was quite interesting with them. When I don't know if you saw it, when I dropped the second Bobby Luisi interview, part 2, and we were talking about Joe Molino, where he essentially goes for Joe Molino, if you like. He's not happy with some of the things Joe Molino said about him. And they analysed that. Fat Bold Sicilian did, and one or two others. They analysed the interview, Proctor and Lee Cole. And they actually made a point of saying at the beginning of the interview when they were discussing me, because obviously I knew they probably hadn't heard of me, they made a point of saying, this guy has interviewed 2 informants in 1 week, right? Which is total bullshit anyway, because I've only ever interviewed 1 informant for the whole time I've been on here. But I thought it was quite interesting why they would say that statement. What relevance has that got? Whether I've interviewed
Because
20
it's bollocks.
informants?
Because it's bollocks. Because listen,
It's bollocks.
they don't want you. They don't want your show to do good. Okay, first off, let's look at it let's use their perspective. You got somebody who's younger than them, carries themselves better, can actually speak, actually does an interview, actually, you're good. You know what I mean? You're good. I mean, look, all you got to do is look at this. Look at what they did do to Jeff Nadeau. I'm talking about the Walrus and them. Here's what. Hang on. Yeah, I gotta hop off here in a minute. I just want to make a point because I got these idiots keep calling. But anyway, so look at if you ever pay attention to their show, they copied Jeff Nadeau the whole way. They even say, look, they even the old man, Mr. Rogers, came out and say, yeah, and we like our show to be where we interview the other guys that really aren't heard of. That's Jeff Nadeau. That's Jeff Nadeau. That's what he does. Okay, all the research and stuff like that. That's what he does. So they sat there, copied his whole style, and then just straight bashed the guy any chance they get. And they try to bash you coming right out the gate. I don't like that shit.
It was yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a bash. I didn't kind of take it as a bash.
They're trying. No, they're trying. Trust me. Look, at the end of the day, they don't want you to succeed. Believe that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And they're such hypocrites. How are you going to sit there and say something about Rob interviewed some informers, but they loved when they got Mike Francis. What is he? I mean, I'm not putting him down there, but what is he?
Well, exactly. Well, it's not just him, is it? They've interviewed. They interviewed Bobby Luisi, or Lee Cole interviewed Bobby Luisi. So But
There,
I'll tell you what, it's obvious that they're cozying up to. I think it's obvious that they're cozying up to Lady
Angel got
Gotti,
yeah.
so that then they may think maybe it's already in the bag, so they can get an interview with Gotti Jr., who doesn't consider himself a cooperator. That's just my
He
theory.
would listen, and here's the thing: he's not going to do no interview with them. He would never do it. He would never do it. He probably looks at them as straight jerk offs. You know what I mean? That's the thing. That's where people get a bad rap because of them idiots. And they sit there, they group everything together. Like I took offense to it because like they were talking about the channels that like we go on like live and stuff like that. Like how I hop on your channel, hop on FBS or Jeff. They're like, oh, all them rats channel. And so I'm like, whoa. So what do you call me a rat? You know what I'm saying? You know, because and then that's why I went back at them a little bit. Now the Lee Cole thing, I just don't like him because he's a bad guy. He's a scumbag, totally. And he uses Mr. Rogers as the front man or whatever. Mr. Rogers, he he looks like he's got dementia. All right, hey Rob, I gotta hop off here. I got all these idiots calling me.
All right, mate.
Oh yeah,
Where
hey,
are you? Just
I'm gonna download the WhatsApp and then I'll send you whatever. All right.
okay. Just quickly before you go, where have you been?
The last couple of days I've been working. I've been working because we had a house that we're rehabbing that some people stole all the shit out of.
Oh God,
That's
fucking
how.
hell! The saga continues.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Right,
right. I'll see you
people
later.
go over and subscribe to Standing on Business with Eric Foss. It's a great channel, one of my favourite channels, underrated channel. Great to
All right.
see you, Eric,
I'll see you guys later.
and we'll see you soon. Cheers, buddy. Cool. Wow, almost well, gone 3 hours and 3 minutes, and it's 2 in the morning. And I'm not really a night type of guy. Lefty, did you want to? I don't know if you're still there. Did you want to jump on and chat? If not, that's cool. We can catch up another time. Tommy Stiggs, I enjoy. I don't know whether you're still here, but thank you very much for the donation. I enjoy. You do usually 2 lives a day, and I try to pop into one of them because the other one I'm asleep. So yeah, thank you very much for the donation, and good to see you here. I'm glad you've come in. Anything? What other comments do we have before I jump off? Oh, I must say thank you to Tom Vecchia, who was here for almost 3 hours. His YouTube channel is the New Theory Podcast, and he has just revamped or restarted, I believe, Mobsters Inc. So the New Theory Podcast, if anyone's interested, please go over there and subscribe, comment, like, and his revamped channel, or I think he had it and then it closed, or now he's revamping it, adding a few bits of content, doing some content on it, is Mobsters Inc. All right, cool. Well, if there's no other comments, nothing to discuss, I will say that I interviewed, I think I said it earlier, interviewed a ex Miami homicide detective, cold case detective, street cop yesterday, and I'm going to drop it on Friday. It was a fascinating interview, 2 hours. He spoke about lots of famous cases, particularly in the Miami area. The Cocaine Cowboys, he was on that case. Interviewed the hitman. Name escapes me. Come to me in a minute. Anyway, he interviewed him for his role as a cop, and he was part of the cold case team with a murder which was linked to the Winter Hill gang, Whitey Bulger, and he tracked Whitey Bulger. Well, if he didn't track, he tried unsuccessfully to find Whitey Bulger, and interviewed a lot of the associates, Whitey's associates. So who was it? Kevin Weeks, Flemmy, and a couple of others. And I did ask him actually if he had heard of Joey Molino, and I'm not going to tell you the answer. You have to watch it to see. But if he, in his policing days, because obviously he was in Boston, and Joey Molino had something to do with Boston, didn't he, with Bobby Luisi and that crew, and we talk on that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining in. There's 10 people left in the chat, and this has been a bit of a marathon for me. Nick Romano's the live king. He can go on forever and ever and ever, but I've run out of energy. So 8 minutes past 2 in the morning. All the best, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for everybody that jumped onto the show. Really appreciate it. Take care. Till next time. Cheers.